So it's like, not to say that it's going to be easy to go and have those on like the moons and stuff, but beyond that, putting in the whatever hooks they need for outposts or whatever else. I mean, I wouldn't think, I would have thought Nyx would be a hell of a lot easier of a system to put in than Pyro.
Maybe.
Which is why I didn't understand.
But I don't think you can jump. I don't think you can jump to Nyx from Stanton.
No,
wrong. I'm going to double check right now.
But even still, no, you can't. You have to go through Pyro, if I remember right.
Right.
That also too adds up a lot of gameplay, because it's like, hey, if I want to get to Nyx, you have to go through dangerous Pyro. Okay, hey, that gives the chance. It's like, hey, I might be a regular law-abiding citizen. I don't go to Pyro, and that's where all the bad guys are hanging out, right? But if I have to go through there to get, and I'm assuming it's going to be from like one side of the system to the other side of it, something approximately like that. If that's the case, that gives the pirates and the bad guys ample opportunity to go and be able to like quantum interdict you, ambush you, whatever.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the like quantum interdiction tech, that's still not at a good place to the point where you could go and actually like ambush someone. Down the line, of course, it will be, but right now it's like, no, it's just not feasible. But later on, it'll be there, and also too, even ignoring though that you have to go through Pyro to get to the Nyx system. You could easily just go and have just like how they did with Devilmar itself. They could go and be like, hey, here's a jump point. It's going to go from Stanton to the Nyx system until Pyro is in. Then that's going to go, that same jump point is going to go from Stanton to Pyro, and then you're going to have another one that goes from Pyro to Nyx. Now, there's nothing saying it. Like, if the stuff is done, there's no reason necessarily not to go and just jump ahead with it. But again, it depends. It depends how they want to do it. There's all the back end information that we don't have that they do on, what's happening, what pieces are in place and what aren't, etc. So who knows?
Yeah.
Like, it's like we just saw hacking slide down from 315. I guarantee we're going to see other stuff. I hope personal inventory and medical will both make it in there, just because those are pretty big pieces, and I think those will really change the game as we play it. But because also too, it's like, if personal inventory isn't in, then why do I really care if I die or not, right? I'll just be like, screw it, I'll just respawn because I keep all my shit. Besides maybe the gun I had on me, right? Whereas if personal inventory is in, I'm like, holy shit, I really don't want to go and lose my unique gray cat armor there, from the store. Let me go back and actually loot my body. That being said, I do hope too, whenever they implement personal inventory, we've been saying for a while, they need some kind of a in-game way to restore either like subscriber stuff, concierge stuff, unique stuff. As it is, you have to do a character reset to get that shit back, and that's
or wait for the next
ridiculous.
patch. Yeah.
So here's hoping.
So we're live now.
Oh no.
Yep. So welcome to episode 2 of The Leftovers, and that's pretty much it. So want to just go into start stuff first? What was that?
You said, okay, that's it. We're done.
That's it. We're done. Yeah, that's it. Bye. Okay. So let's just go into the Star Citizen stuff. We're already talking about it. But we have what was it? The roadmap updates, both Star Citizen and Squadron 42. And then we have, well, not roadmap update, should be studio report. Monthly
Yes,
studio report.
the monthly report. So it's kind of just telling us, for those who don't know, it's essentially just it telling us that here's what was worked on, here's essentially the feedback that all of the individual teams are putting out to go, hey backers, here's what we were working on for this month, here's, you know, projects we completed, projects we were having difficulty with, you know, here's a status update.
Right, one of which, for Squadron, we've got AI content, so AI content progressed with their work on Squadron 42's Wild Lines, with July seeing them finishing various cleanup tasks. Currently, only remaining characters are specific cases that need in-level implementation. But yeah, it's essentially just we're getting updates on stuff, more technical stuff than...
Also to note, so Wild Lines, for those who don't know, Wild Lines are going to be the non-scripted chatter that AIs will throw out. So, like, for example, if you're in the middle of a firefight and an NPC screams, you know, kill those bastards, that's a wild line. They're not scripted necessarily to go and say that at that specific point, but they have a wide range of options to say, and that's one of them.
Right, like when the other night when I killed a Buccaneer pilot, and then the guy in the freelancer said, "You killed my buddy. I'll kill you for that." Like, yeah, that's a wild line, and it's awesome. We also got AI feature content updates. So last month, what did they do with the AI feature? Oh, they talked about scripted animations, and how they're gonna make it a bit more, or make them less like mannequins and more animated and more lively.
Less standing on chairs.
Yeah, hopefully. So, this month they are working on basic combat behaviors, ensuring cover selection is working as intended, and that the AI provides the base level of functionality after the first reaction to an enemy. And quoting them here, often the majority of the technology for improving combat already exists. It's more a case of reviewing very specific situations and ensuring that the AI behaves as intended, and fixing sometimes simple bugs that produce bad behavior. From these, like standing on chairs, from these beginnings, we hope to do a full review over all of the basic combat behaviors, which will lead to better and more enjoyable gameplay. So that's the AI feature team there, telling you that they're working on combat behaviors. So hopefully we can actually see them running to cover, shooting around corners, throwing grenades, trying to flush you out.
Sometimes we do get a server that has only like
10
people or something. You see the AI behaving very differently.
It's great because you actually get a taste of how the AI should work.
Yeah, but it's terrible because you're expecting the AI to be as buggy as they always are, and then
they actually end up capping you. Yeah. Finally, they said that the animators continued working on speed protocol and polish stages for the mocapped cowering and surrendering animation, which I assume is both for AI and players. This will be used for both unarmed and untrained AI and AI combat behaviors currently under review. Next, we got AI tech. And keep in mind, this is all for Squadron 42. We'll do Squadron 42, then Star Citizen. But this is for Squadron 42. We got AI tech saying... They enabled planetary navigation system to make connections between adjacent mesh tiles, and that's great because that's a step in the right direction for getting the AI to actually navigate on the planet, on the surface of a planet. So hopefully we can see some AI ground vehicles in the future, like soon. We know we're getting them; it's just a question of when.
Soon, TM.
Exactly. They updated the tile generator debug draw. So that should help with draw distance when you load in the mesh tiles for planets. So that's a plus. Work was submitted to allow NPCs to push a trolley along a path. Work for this includes playing an animation to connect the to the trolley, selecting a path, pushing the trolley along the path, disconnecting the trolley at the end, and moving away. So we'll actually see NPCs, again, adding to that more, making them more lively and actually doing things as opposed to just being, semi-animated mannequins. Next up they talked about animation. We saw July saw animation team refractor weapons select and deselect to better work with the new character editor UI. So essentially, they're reworking some of the UI stuff behind the scenes. They also continued developing zero-G movement, drunk locomotion, Van Duel locomotion, cowering and surrender, arcade machine state machines, hacking blockouts, and vendor development. The latter of which is used for getting food, drinks, and other items. In other words, they won't be like teleporting around, which is nice. Although again, that might be a server tick rate issue and not the AI itself. Like when you just see them behind the bar, just like warp from one side of the bar to the other.
Yeah.
That's definitely a server issue, not the AI itself.
Now, one thing though that I'll note too, as much as is possible, CIG want to have the NPCs in Star Citizen to be using the exact same systems that we the players are. Meaning, if an NPC goes, "Hey, I'm gonna go," the NPC goes, "Hey, I've accepted a delivery mission to deliver 400 units of Laranite to this factory over here." So the NPC is going to go, they're going to grab their ship, they're going to go to a location where they think they can buy Laranite, they're going to buy the Laranite, they're then going to load the Laranite onto their ship in the same way that a player would, meaning if for example, if the way the system goes and rolls out is that you have players running around like a cargo deck with trolleys full of Laranite or whatever their cargo is, you're going to see NPCs doing the same exact thing when they're in that area as well. There's gonna be a few areas where they'll cut some corners and magic some stuff in the background just because that's game development. But as much as possible, they want NPCs doing the exact same things, the exact same actions, the exact same ways that players are.
Yeah, the point, the end goal being that they want essentially AI to be indistinguishable from players as much as they possibly can.
Yep.
Next, with animation, they talked about the salvage weapon and usables for medical gameplay were also worked on, and they began refactoring the AI locomotion system to prepare for the new personality-based locomotion cycles using new systems. Elsewhere, the aircraft carrier launch crew animations were factored to the... Okay, so just a bit of history on that one. The aircraft carrier launch crew animation, that is for your Javelins and Idrises, like in the hangars when you have like these little AI guys, doing aircraft carrier launch animations where they're telling you, okay, you're good to launch, go, go, go. So they're previously it was only for male characters. Now they're adding it to female characters, which is great because they have to. Gotta do it for everyone. Make sure the animations work and it's not all wonky because the male and female animation skeletons are a little different. So. Can't just copy and paste the animations, you gotta tweak them a bit, make them work. They also did work on vending machine use in progress, and so that's still in progress. And then the team is looking at existing assets, closed out any usables requiring further work, and resurrected any worthy but unused usables. And then finally, in the animation department, they did a facial animation. The team improved facial animation results for the new incoming models, added facial animation to the various usables, and supported narrative on a motion capture shoot. So. Next up, we have character art. They finalized work on all hero heads, including Wade, McLaren, and Mason. So these are actual characters in Squadron 42. They also made a geo-polish pass, added a eye assembly, completed a hair refinement pass, and tested a new in-house skin shader. They'll implement the same procedure as they move on to other character heads later in the quarter. Additionally, they put the finishing touches to Trejo's outfit. The concept team began creating Van Duel Warrior variants, and the first pass on the Screaming Helsons was completed. I assume that's a alien creature. Animal creature.
One may make that assumption.
Art. So you got environment art throughout July. They supported milestone goals. Oh, the Bengals Medical Bay is approaching completion. We are extremely pleased with the results as we fine tweak it to hit a standard of quality we aim to set with Squadron 42, the environment art team. Nice. So the Bengal is almost complete. The med bay is almost complete, and they talked about the exterior model being like almost finished. The actual usable exterior model that they plan to have in Squadron 42 and eventually in Star Citizen. Last month they talked about it being completed, so now they're working on the med bay. It's gonna be cool. Audio, we saw the July dialogue team record additional voiceovers, which are currently being prepared for implementation. Composition also continued with Pedro Camacho working on music for quantum travel. Ooh. For anyone who doesn't know, Pedro Camacho does the soundtrack for Star Citizen and Squadron 42, and it is amazing.
Like all the menu music, that's him, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Actually,
good stuff.
No, I'm trying to remember. I think when they first, I don't know, because there's also another guy. There is another guy, Daniel or something, Don something. I think did one of the menu musics, but a lot of his themes. No, he did the R&R station music. Yeah, that's not Pedro. That's him. But Pedro does pretty much everything else. He did the Crusader music, the new Orison music. He did some of the original themes, like the original Port Olisar theme, and as well as the new one too. It's great stuff. I highly recommend. Just go on YouTube and search Pedro Camacho Star Citizen. You'll get everything.
Or if you own the game, open up the launcher and just take a listen.
Or yeah, well, I'm assuming a lot of people don't have the game or can't run it.
Wrong.
So.
No, I'm kidding.
We also got some engine updates from Squadron 42's engine team. So the physics team finished support for compressed meshes. This means the representation of render meshes inside physics is now compressed, leading to memory and bandwidth savings. Yes! See, that's how you do it. Optimization, right there. More code, such as preparation of vertex positions and normals for planetary patches, was also moved from C++ to ISPC to allow for faster processing on the CPU. Further optimizations include pre-allocating mesh blocks to avoid stalls during on-demand allocation, caching the current grid of vehicles to prevent stalls in physics, optimized binding to secondary node data during CGF loading, and new round of terrain mesh generation improvements. Additionally, the set of analytical SDF primitives supported by physics was extended and Taurus added. So what that means is essentially you're going to have things are going to load faster, and rendering and draw distance is not going to be as popping. You're not going to have as much LOD issues. Ideally. Granted, this is still in the Squadron 42 stuff, so you're not going to see this for a little while. Or maybe we will. I don't know. For the renderer, the team continued to transition to Gen 12. A lot of work was completed to global drop packet cache and related changes. They're just updating and optimizing things here. Volumetric clouds and atmospheric rendering saw improvements throughout July, as well as continued research. For example, runtime cube maps that are used in ambient lighting around the player, density quarries, now also include the cloud's tint at the requested location, which is important for the seamless integration of particles into the cloud volumes. So essentially making the sunlight peeking through the clouds a bit more realistic. As opposed to when you go to the truck stops, right? Like a lot of the Lagrange points. And they have the clouds, but you see the sun still as normal. You're not going to have that anymore. You're going to actually have a more realistic sunlight through the clouds type thing. Even in space, which will be cool. They updated some render performance as well as core engine stuff. So they updated some of the core engine stuff like that. That's pretty cool. Gameplay features. Squadron 42 feature team continued their ongoing track view support. Added functionality includes a new frame of reference where the content creators can specify what the entities in the sequence are relative to. When the sequences move, everything else in the sequence automatically moves relative to it. For example, in an elevator sequence moves, the carriage and all the characters inside move along with it, as opposed to the sometimes glitch where you see like a pair of elevator doors and the players kind of trailing along. It's essentially just more fine-tuning, more updating. I mean, again, game's still in alpha, so it's literally being built on in front of our eyes.
How dare it?
Gameplay story. Should I even read this?
Eh.
I'm just going to read the quote here. I'm just going to read the quote because it's from the gameplay story team. And it's on the screen for anyone who wants to read it anyways. But it has been great to see all this work pay off, as the entire first half of Chapter 5 is now playable from start to finish. This was no easy feat, as there were lots of animations, two walk and talk sequences, and plenty of technical challenges involved. So that's from the gameplay story team. So they're talking about how essentially, I mean, look, Squadron 42 does have RPG elements. You're going to be walking and talking and stuff like that. You're going to have dialogue options. I'm sure most of the sequences with you and Mark Hamill's character are going to be walking and talking with him.
Yep.
Or flying and talking. God, I hope he's in your ear annoyingly when you're in combat situations. You're just like, shut up, Mark! Let's see, level design. Oh wait, I skipped graphics and VFX programming. But pretty much it's, again, just reworking some of the render to texture stuff. Again, talking more about, draw distance and loading, loading stuff. So, and essentially optimizing. It's mostly just a lot of optimization.
Which is definitely a good thing.
Yeah, especially considering how that was the problem I have with Halo Infinite Flight, was the lack of optimization. Yeah, it's a flight, but at the same time, we know these AAA gaming companies don't optimize their games. Whether it's negligence, laziness, or cost, expense, honestly is irrelevant. Whereas here, Star Citizen, they're actually optimizing it. Let me put it this way: in Star Citizen, using the tech that's in Star Citizen, if CIG was so inclined to do so, like if they really wanted to, they could make a 10,000 kilometer ring world in Star Citizen. Just because they can.
We've already got Synth World.
Right. Well, not in game yet, but I mean, like right now in game, they could. If they have the tech, they have the technology, they can rebuild him. They can make a Halo ring. And
Who says they won't?
You can literally like fly or drive or even walk around the entire ring if you wanted. But so that's just the level of detail and awesomeness that Star Citizen is. Let's see, on the VFX programming side, various new features were added, such as tinting for space loop particles based on planetary cloud, and so more of the cloud stuff, as we talked about earlier. A lot of these things are going to be, not necessarily repetitions, but kind of in terms of just newsworthy stuff, like in terms of talking about like what are the new updates, what are the new stuff from the monthly studio report. They're going to just say, okay, this is what the graphics and VFX programming team was up to, which was pretty much the same thing as the renderer guy, the engine guys, except they were working on more specific aspects of it. I'm going to put this in the chat because I do recommend people actually read at the time and interest. Let's see, level design. The space and dogfight team are currently finalizing how the AI buddy works for spaceflight, which involves both combat and non-combat ambient behaviors, which again will mean like Mark Hamill, your wingman in Squadron 42. What's his character's Coleman, right? That's his character's name, Old Man Cole.
Maybe.
So he's going to be your wingman, and they have to make the AI work. Otherwise, you end up with Fallout New Vegas style companion AI, where they're going to just run into every turret imaginable because they don't know what stealth is. They're also in the process of implementing and refining the new features they received last quarter, such as scanning and ping, which we have in Star Citizen right now with Alpha 3.14 PTU. The new scanning and ping system It's great. I love it right now. Yeah, it does show like every little detail, which it probably shouldn't, or maybe it's a case by case basis thing, like it should here but shouldn't there. But you know what? First implementation, it's really good. So, and how they're used by the AI. The team also focused on maintaining the handshake between the FPS and social areas of the game to allow continuous play. Meanwhile, the social design team continued to implement various in-game chapter scenes for review and sign-off. So that's kind of like, testing, making sure it actually works as it's intended. Narrative team kicked off the month with motion capture shoot in the UK, with several team members attending remotely. They worked closely with the gameplay, story, audio, and animation teams to pick up some of the additional vignettes and conversations mentioned in previous reports. The editorial sections were turned around the following week so the data could start making its way through the pipeline. They also reviewed several levels with the design team to look at update layouts and pretty much see if anything needs to be changed, and scripted content, identify what works, what doesn't. But yeah, and then finally we got the QA team saying cinematics relied on QA for recordings of each level so they can ensure scenes are working and are of the intended quality. And tech animation, same thing. It's just, it's good stuff. A lot of good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the Squadron 42 studio report. We did get the Star Citizen one. Nerdportal's in the chat saying, hi Cast in the Shadows, hi Mando and Data. That's not Data, that's Cam. You made him cry. God damn it, Bernice! Okay. Hey, something smells good. I think my roommate's cooking. I'll let you know if there's a fire.
How come the doorknob's so warm?
Right, so that's CitizenCon. Ignore this. This is personal stuff. I mean, not related to the CitizenCon news. Okay, so here's the roadmap, the studio report for Star Citizen, which is different from Squadron. A lot of it is kind of the same, though. However, it's more focused on things that are actually coming soon versus Squadron 42. So, like the AI content team was working also on animations and other AI type polishing and technical details related to the female skeleton, animation skeleton, as well as behavior models, especially for medical gameplay. The doctor and nurse elements of the medical behavior received data too. Pretty much all stuff needed for Alpha 3.15, which is going to introduce all this medical gameplay. AI content also rectified bugs for Alpha 3.14 with a focus on Orison's Voyager bar, where everyone's pretty much a mannequin with one or two guys walking around. So, feature team, same dealio. We got often the majority of the technology for improving combat already exists. It's the same thing as the Squadron stuff. The environment team, though, was different. So, in Montreal, the team progressed with the Grey Box phase for the rest stop and Grimhex medical clinics, which are probably going to just be glorified drug dens. Devs can now walk into both locations and experience the correct moods, volumes, and flow. The rest stop clinics were the ideal opportunity to start working on module-based locations, which involves covering many rest stops with a restricted library of medical modules. Area 18 and Lorville's hospitals are approaching white box completion. These locations are much larger in scope and require adaptation and revisiting to ensure they live up to their potential. The locations team itself said, as the scope of these is closer to those of New Babbage and Orison, we want to make sure that the volumes of the general feeling of the areas are spot on before moving on to the detail pass. So in other words, they're still working on it. They want to get it the way they want it, and that's good. We got some ship updates, specifically on the Redeemer, which a lot of people are a fan of. I'm personally not a huge fan of it, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's okay, but there are better ships. It's no Vanguard. The Aegis Redeemer received its exterior damage meshes and a final polish pass. The team are currently working on exterior LODs, while the interior is going through its final art pass with cockpits, turrets, and lower level nearing completion. A new yet-to-be-announced vehicle that the team is excited to share moved from white box to gray box, while the Saber's cockpit and lighting were wrapped up. For the Retaliator, the first round of interior gold standard work is coming to a close, with the interior spaces corrected for metrics and AI navigation. New ship item compartments were added and the cockpit received a pass too. Another unannounced ship is deep into the gray box phase. With some issues with its exterior mechanisms now resolved, it's moving through the pipeline well. There are a number of artists working together on this one, and each area of the ship's interior is coming along nicely, the ship team. And then finally we got work began on a new fuel arm for the Starfarer, as well as the Starfarer Gemini by extension, to support the refueling feature coming soon. Yeah. So that's cool. We got a lot of ship updates. Obviously, we got Constellation Taurus launched with Alpha 314, or will launch with Alpha 314. It's in the PTU, so it doesn't count as a launch quite yet. They're also working on the Crusader Ares variant, as well as the Drake Vulture at the moment. One of which is set to launch in 315, the Ares. We're actually going to get that ship. Supposedly. It does look like we will get the Redeemer, though.
Supposedly.
The weapon content team had another busy month, completing the 2 size 7 bearing weapons for the Crusader Ares before closing out bugs for Alpha 314. Work also kicked off for a new size 3 bomb for the A2 Starlifter and a variant of the mounted weapon turret for an upcoming ship. A lot of unannounced ships in this studio report.
That they're only referencing now.
What?
That they're only referencing now.
Yeah.
Meaning it's not like they just whip these ships out of their ass.
No, it's not like they're like. I'm just saying, there's a lot of unannounced ships that we've never they haven't disclosed to us what they are to surprise us, I guess.
Great, and we're only first hearing about it now.
Right, exactly. Like they've probably been in the work for years. We just only hear about it now. That's why they're unannounced.
I don't know about years, but
some of them
potentially
probably
a year or more.
Yeah.
Well, if you include like when concept art was made for them, I guess. Because some of that concept art is back from the beginning.
The audio team began July working on Grimhex's medical center and received effects and music passes to help compound the rundown aesthetic. In other words, the drug den aesthetic. Seriously, that's going to be a massive drug den instead of an actual hospital, isn't it?
I mean,
I'm feeling really down.
Yeah,
it's like, you go to a Walls Clinton or something. It's like, I'm feeling really down. You gotta need something to pep me up.
A little bit of column A, a whole lot of column B.
Right. I'm missing the chat here. Imperial says, that's my rotisserie chicken I'm eating at my desk. No, it is not rotisserie chicken I'm smelling. It smells like Google.
Don't lie. We know the truth.
Potatoes. And chicken.
Yes.
So there is chicken, but not rotisserie.
Boiled
That's what I'm. It's not what I'm smelling. Nerdporial Lifeform asks, "How do you play Star Citizen? Is it PC game? It is a PC game. Yes.
Yes. Only a PC game.
Nothing else can run it.
Well, how much RAM do the current consoles have? I'm talking like your top of the line, like PlayStation 5, Xbox.
I don't know.
Whatever.
But I can quickly look it up.
I mean,
I don't know how good are the processors though.
I would say that it's possible because I mean we're not going to see a release of Star Citizen, like again actual release of Star Citizen
16 gigs
until I would say probably at minimum 5 years. So we're talking at least probably another generation of consoles on top of what we're just getting now, I would say. So that being said, we're already moving to the point where consoles are on 64-bit engines, finally. So they can start using more than 4 gigs of RAM, which is going to help a lot. I think the current consoles are using 16 gigs of RAM. And I want to say they've got at least like 4 gig of VRAM. So that being said, next generation of consoles could potentially, at least just on a hardware side, run Star Citizen. That being said, my estimation is that unless the next generation of consoles is just literally it's a PC on a slightly different operating system, because there are some weird hardware hijinks that go on with making them. But unless it's just a PC under another name, then I would say it's likely we would not see any kind of even talk of putting Star Citizen on consoles, even if they can.
Even if they could run it, CIG would have to also, communicate
They're
with
going to have
Sony
to develop,
and Xbox
have a whole another development pipeline for adjusting all of the tech, all of their memory limits.
And it's not worth. Honestly, it's not worth it for them.
Just for consoles. So I won't say no, just because, like I said, consoles are moving ever closer with each generation to just being a PC under a different name. That it's just a PC running. I mean, like you've got Steam OS. They're literally writing an operating system that's just meant to be playing PC games.
Yeah, so but Sony and then Microsoft use their own version OS, which won't be compatible.
But we're seeing them slowly getting closer and closer to a standard operating system that any computer would be able to run and still interface with everything else. So for the time being, and until, I would say probably unlikely until we get to full release. After that, I'd say it's plausible, but still pretty unlikely. It would depend, because I know CIG already have a whole slew of features and stuff they want to work on after release. Things like adding voice control, things like adding VR support. These are all things that have been pretty much tabled until the game itself is at a release state. So it would just depend if they want to add console support to that list of features, because like I said, at that time we're going to have a whole nother generation of consoles. Those might be doable at that point to run Star Citizen no problem. And if that's the case, I'd say it's at least plausible. But current generation of consoles, nah.
Honestly, I'd say even next gen, probably not either. Just based on the previous generation and how the consoles evolve, it's kind of like they only go one step higher in terms of hardware. It's not like they're going leaps and bounds from the previous console. Aside from the graphical power.
we don't know, because I mean one thing too I'll note, just from going from.
Oh, I said just based on previous console generations, like based on track records. Not, I'm not saying that can't change. I'm just saying based on what has been.
I mean, last generation was when they finally took the step from 32-bit to 64.
True.
So I mean that alone was a huge step forward. Now after that, we're pretty much just quibbling over details.
By the way, I actually, in the background, you can see some video footage on loop. That is from Star Citizen.
Lies.
Nerdportal Lifeform says. By the way, Cam, you asked. Both Xbox Series X, Series S, and the PlayStation 5 all have 16.
Okay, so ideally it would still be 32, but.
He asks, is there any story to this game, or is it just shipbuilding? There's no actual... Okay, so there's no shipbuilding. You don't build any ships. CIG is the one building the ships. They're making the game. The game's in open development. It's currently in alpha. We're not really playing it so much as we are testing it. So the game does have a story. That's what Squadron... So How do I?
Oh,
So
here,
it's two different games.
To sum up, so there is just a single player story driven side of it called Squadron 42. That being said, what you've seen a lot of gameplay of whenever you see like us playing it, that is Star Citizen, the MMO, massively multiplayer online game that is currently also in alpha being built alongside Squadron 42. That has there's a lot of lore posts and a lot of content that's being put in to go and allow for story elements in the way of having quests, journal entries you would find, journal entries added to like your personal data storage that you can find on your HUD, stuff like that. But your character in the MMO side, like you with some MMOs, it's like your character is the chosen one, and they're the chosen one, and they are, and every other player is also the chosen one. And it's just like, yeah, okay, that's silly at that point. So they're not going to have your character in the MMO be like a dedicated such and such, or they were such and such. They aren't going to dictate who your character is. You can play as pretty much whatever you want. In the single player side, in Squadron 42, yes, they're going to go and say, hey, your character is a member of the UEE military. I believe at minimum you can choose your gender. You're probably going to be able to customize your face. You might be able to customize your name. They haven't said if that's going to be the case or not. That being said, if they do allow for that, I would assume they're probably going to have either a limited number of options, because then they can go and include them in voice recordings, or they're just going to assign you a name. I would not assume too much that they would just let you type in a name.
Right. So he's saying, I see multiple voice actors involved. Mark Hamill, as we mentioned already, John Rhys Davis, Andy Serkis, Liam Cunningham, as well as Mark Strong, Henry Cavill, and Gary Oldman. So that's all Squadron 42. So this is what I mean to say. So you have two games. CIG is making two games side by side that are very different, but in the same universe. Squadron 42 is the single-player campaign, the story-driven game, where you have Mark Hamill as your wingman and Gary Oldman's the head honcho of the Navy. Henry Cavill, Mark Strong, all these guys are in it. That's where you're seeing the voice actors. So that's from Squadron 42, which I have the trailer playing right now. So you see Mark Hamill right there. So that's Squadron 42. That's the stuff that is getting that a lot of people talk about, but think is Star Citizen. So Squadron 42 is a different game. It's a single-player game. It's more RPG, FPS action. Star Citizen, so same gameplay, is an MMO. It's a space sim. Essentially, giant open galaxy. Your character's just, a random Joe Schmo in the Star Citizen verse. You're not like some special. You're not like the chosen one from Fallout 2 or anything. You're just you. You get to play as yourself or whoever you want to play as in terms of like a character in that game. And kind of run around. There is a story in Star Citizen, but it's kind of where you find it, Like it's more storytelling in Star Citizen versus Squadron 42 is more of environmental storytelling and mission storytelling versus Squadron 42 is an actual campaign. Like, it's an actual
your character was the one to push back the horde on this station at this time. They aren't going to be like doing anything like that. You're going to have events that'll pop up, and you might play a critical role in that event, but that's not going to be the only time that event pops up. It might pop up somewhere else in the galaxy, but these events are going to have, it's like, we've seen with like the Xenothreat attacks. It's like that Xenothreat is going to go and pop up a lot, and then they might be like, hey, Xenothreat's been defeated, but here's this new group that's kind of doing the same thing. Maybe they change it up a little bit, but it's pretty much the same event. They give it a new name and go, hey, Xenothreat's dead, but these guys are still attacking the UEE supply ships, and you're still trying to stop them and stuff like that. Those kinds of events, so like I said, it's not like you're going to have a narrative being created by CAG around your multiplayer character. It's pretty much just what it is you personally are doing. That's your personal story. But CIG aren't going to necessarily create a story-driven narrative around your MMO character.
Yeah. Nerdportal asks, he says, so like Nerevarine from Morrowind, the awaited savior of the world? I guess that's for you, because you know Morrowind, I don't.
Yeah, I never played Morrowind.
But no, yeah, you're not, at least in Star Citizen, you're not. You're just a regular Joe, your average Joe Schmo, I guess, Just create a character and have fun. Where at Squadron 42, that's more of you're the chosen one type thing. Nerdportal says, are they in the same universe, Squadron 42 and Star Citizen? Same developers? Yeah, yeah. So Squadron 42 is before Star Citizen. The year in Star Citizen is always changing based on real world year. So if it's 2021, in Star Citizen it's 2951. In 2016 it was 2946.
Yeah.
So Star Citizen is.
I believe they said that Star Citizen, the MMO, would be about 3 years or so after the events.
I think originally Squadron 42 was supposed to take place in 2942. I think.
Or something like that.
It could be after because
it's definitely after.
Because the Vega incident was 2945.
Yep. So it's definitely after. The amount after might change, but.
Yeah, but it could be anything from it's 2946 to 2956, depending on when it actually releases and Star Citizen. But Squadron 42 takes place before where we are in Star Citizen right now, at least as of right now. Again, both are still in development. They're being developed side by side. They're developing things for Squadron first, and then they go into Star Citizen. Because you're building the single-player aspect first, and then you essentially, not port, but essentially, for lack of a better term, port the single-player gameplay features and aspects into a multiplayer setting and change them accordingly. Nerdportal Lifeform asks, Squadron 42 is in beta stage, testing stage? No, it is definitely still in alpha as well as Star Citizen. We just don't test it. We don't have access to test Squadron 42. That's all in-house.
We'll see some aspects get brought into the MMO side for testing purposes, but they want to keep especially the major gameplay content and especially the story content as much under wraps as possible, so that the first time we're really encountering it is when we're first playing it. It's like if you were to go and test one of the levels, 1,000 times over, as soon as you hit that level, you're just gonna be like, oh geez, it's this level. I've done this 1,000 times. Okay, you're not gonna care. You're gonna completely check out and potentially even miss. Maybe they've added more stuff there, and you would never even know because you're just going along the same route you've always done.
He says it looks like Mass Effect, which I'm gonna take that as a compliment.
Kind of. I mean, they're both sci-fi.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely visually different from Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Which I
it's
prefer.
Built off the Crysis engine. So
yeah.
Crytek.
It uses a completely rebuilt, modified from the ground up version of Crytek, the Cry engine. Called the Star engine. Nerdboy says, with a little Aliens, Babylon 5, and some Trek and Star Wars as sci-fi influence, do you know what other sci-fi they drew from? Everything. They drew from everything.
Literally everything.
It's a little bit of Battlestar Galactica, a little bit of Stargate, a lot of Star Wars and Trek, a lot of Aliens. The alien ships and stuff, they drew a lot from Predator, as well as Aliens. So there's a little bit of everything.
If it was any kind of major science fiction or even some minor science fiction from pretty much 2010 back, they probably drew inspiration in some way from it.
I mean, there's a lot of Halo in it too, in terms of the in-universe politics and dynamics. There's a lot of Halo there. And here's where we make fun of the AI. But yeah, it's a little bit of everything in terms of like where it draws its inspiration, but it uses a little bit of everything to build something completely new. Like, yeah, there's a little, there's enough of something else in there for you to kind of, okay, I have a frame of reference to get my foot in the water. But once you're in, it's like, oh, this is a completely new experience.
And one thing I'll note too.
Yes, even Metroid. Even Metroid.
Well, one thing I'll note too for those who might be watching and they're like, okay, hey, this, it's kind of sort of interesting, but there's all this like pay to win stuff I'm worried about because you can buy ships with real money. I just don't know if it's something for me. Remember too, CIG every couple of months, they go and they have a free fly event to where you just register on the website. All you need is an email address, and then you go and you download the game. And for about like 10 days to 14 days or so, you have full access to the game, just like anyone who's actually bought it. And then they also go and give everyone, both the free flyers coming in and the people who have already bought it, access to like usually 5 or so ships of various types, from a fighter. Usually it's like a fighter, a cargo ship, larger cargo ship, mining ship, something along those lines. And just to let you try it out and see, hey, is this something I might want to try? Next one's probably going to be in October for the CitizenCon event there alongside it. So just if you are wanting to check it out, keep your eye on the website, register an account, because you'll get an email when those events are coming up, and they'll specifically be saying, hey, by the way, there's a free fly going on. But yeah.
The website right here.
Also, one thing I'll note too, if for anyone who does want to go and register on the website, make an account there.
Yeah, in the description below, right here, you have, interested in becoming Star Citizen, and you got all of our referral codes if you want to create an account. And here's the link to create an account.
Because if you use one of those when the game finally is at full release, both you and whoever code you use will get some extra in-game money to start you off with. So
yep. So here's where you enter the code. Obviously, like you got mine, then Cam's, then I think Data and Coolios's. You can only use one of the codes, but I figured we'd just put all four of our codes.
And you can only use it before you register your account. It's when
you have to use it when
your account,
when you're making
buy the game, whenever that might be.
Yep, you have to use it when you're making the account, as you see on the screen. It's just all in the description right there, along with sources for articles. Shall we move on, though?
Yeah.
Alright, so... yeah, but long story short, Squadron 42 Star Citizen, 2 separate games. Squadron 42 being the single-player campaign, story-driven game with all the big-name actors in it. Star Citizen is the online space sim MMO, FPS RPG that they're being developed alongside each other, side by side, by the same guys. They're set in the same universe, and they that's really it. Oh, and we get to play Star Citizen, or play test Star Citizen right now in the alpha stages of development, whereas Squadron, because of story spoilers and stuff, we don't get to test that until the beta comes out sometime soon. Maybe? Hopefully? Anyway. So moving on, though, we got the narrative team for Star Citizen's studio report, the monthly studio report for July. We got the narrative team talking about how they did some new mocap shooting in the UK and did some new voice packs and recording, which is great because I did notice in 3.14 there are new dialogue, there are new voice lines for the criminals, for just your Joe Schmo NPC that you're shooting at. And it's nice because those just random lines of dialogue, like when I killed the Buccaneer, all of a sudden one of the other guys came over comm saying like, "You killed my friend, I'll kill you for that." Like, adds a little bit of more layer, more character to just a nameless NPC that you're going to kill. Although they actually do have names. That's also a nice touch. NPCs have names. Not all, but all the ones you kill. So, as with previous months, Narrative worked closely with the AI content team to outline script and character needs for some of the archetypes in development. This time, discussion focused on security and patron behaviors. These conversations ensure both teams are in sync when developing characters and make sure scripts are generated using known AI triggers and context, and that the behaviors align with the intended purpose of the characters. And then they talked about all the recent other articles and stuff that have come out in the past 2 weeks. We got a new lore article called Booty Call, which you can read about in their Galactopedia, which is the official Star Citizen lore site, Galactopedia. It's literally written by the lore team of Star Citizen, who also work alongside the mission team and pretty much all the other gameplay teams, which is great. Star Citizen and Squadron 42's lore are literally embedded in the gameplay. They're not like separate things like in Halo where you're shooting something, or you're getting shot at, right? Like three shots in the battle rifle will kill you if you're getting headshots. Yeah. Whereas in the lore, that's not going to do. So
the stuff is being
like it has to be balanced for gameplay and stuff. Whereas here, the gameplay and the lore are made together alongside each other to work together. And it's really nice because, like, essentially, if you know one, you know the other. You know the lore, you know the gameplay. You know the gameplay, you know the lore. And that's how I got into the lore of Star Citizen. I was just playing the game, and just all of a sudden I was interested. Let's see, props. The prop team spent a month working on the utilitarian variants of the medical gameplay props. These match the metrics and functionality of the high-tech props seen in Alpha 3.14, but have appropriate art style to match more lawless or low-tech hospital locations such as Grimhex or eventually in the future, I would say Lorville. Probably going to be a hell of a lot more low-tech than New Babbage or Orison. But yeah, and then we also have creating new assets for Orison's Crusader showroom, including furniture, signage, and installations. Were continued on the props for the Colonial Outposts too. So we're going to get a Crusader showroom, which I assume is where we can buy Crusader ships, made by Crusader Industries.
Hope so.
I really do, because like think about it. You're unlike any other location in the game right now. Crusader is a ship manufacturer.
Like, you're literally building ships right there.
Like, they build
why
ships
would you not
at the
least
city.
have a couple of them to sell?
So I want like this extravagant showroom where you can literally like go into the ships and stuff as you would, say, like Lorville's New Deal ship dealer, but have like a Crusader flair to it. So far, Orison has been it's been hit out of the park. They nailed it. I think they did a fantastic job. I was pleasantly surprised. I thought they were going to completely miss the mark, but they brought that concept art to life. It's kind of incredible what they did with Orison.
Also, Joe, I believe for CitizenCon, because for those who don't know, CitizenCon is essentially just it's the anniversary of when the game really began, but they also have a event in game for the last several years, and this year it's going to be at Orison. They're going to go and have an expo hall.
It's like a think Comic-Con, except it changes locations every year, and it's an in-lore event. It's called the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, and it goes from planet. It goes from planet to planet. They within the United Earth Empire. They go from planet to planet, and kind of just like, okay, here. It's pretty much like it's a car convention. It's a car show. It's an intergalactic car show. But instead of cars, it's spaceships.
They got Jeremy Clarkson to do a voiceover
yes,
for a character
Jax McCleary.
that like goes through and talks about the spaceships and such.
Jax McCleary is awesome. They even did a lore page on him recently. This is from. Here, I'm gonna play last year's Intergalactic Aerospace Expo and Jax McCleary. Where the hell? I'm trying to find the funny one, but that was really not last year, was it?
You talking about the Nomad? The clip with the Nomad?
The Nomad one was pretty funny. Like that. That was the first one, right? All new Nomad. Yep.
Yeah.
For 2950, the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo is continuing its tour of Stanton, landing on the snowy slopes of Microtech. And while the weather outside may be frightful, the offerings at the Tobin Centre are nothing short of delightful. Welcome to Whitley's Guide. Here in the consolidated Outland Pavilion, they're gearing up to unveil Silas's all-new Nomad. A ship that couples a welcome dash of unconventional design with bare bones, no frills performance. Under the hood, I had the powers that be at Whitley's arrange some hands-on time with the ship ahead of its release so I could go on a good old-fashioned excursion. From my very first glimpses of its hull, I've been bit hard by the travel bug. As we prepared for our trip, Jimmy got intimately acquainted with the Nomad's 24 SCU capacity external cargo hold.
It's space
Hold on,
dig.
Jimmy. Over there with the other ones.
Yep.
Out here, finally free of the shackles of civilization, edible food, and air traffic laws, we were able to really flex the Nomad's muscles. Watch this, Jimmy! Let's test out these triple shields Silas was going on about, eh?
That's
Even
pretty
triple
much
shields
us
are no
whenever we
match
land,
for
isn't it?
reckless flying. Remember
Yes.
that, kids.
How's it looking there, Jim?
After sharing a few campfire stories, Jimmy and I decided to turn in under the stars.
What was that? Jimmy? Jimmy?
Just a little interruption here. There are Yetis on Microtech, which is the planet this is on.
The onboard bed provides that extra level of security someone of my stature is used to. And convenient
a
access
fucking
to the
framed
laser
picture of
repeaters
himself.
made me rest extra easy.
I never noticed that.
As our expedition came to a close, I couldn't help but feel that I'd tasted true freedom, which, coming from a person who gets pretty much everything he wants, is saying something. As I spooled up the quantum drive one last time, I knew I'd returned to civilization, a changed man, and that I'd never needed a shower so badly in my entire life. And here we are, Jimmy, safe and sound at IAE 2950. Now, it looks like they're getting ready for the official announcement, so take over, would you, Jimmy? I've got to get over to the VIP lounge before the open bar closes.
Back in 2944, we aimed to reshape the dream of spaceflight. Since then, much has changed.
So yeah, it's a really fun little thing that they do here. So back on topic though. Q&A, again, they just were doing some daily polishes on 3.14 because it isn't the PTU at the moment. A new PTU patch actually just came out this afternoon. So was it 3.14.0V, I think was the new patch.
Either way, we're getting pretty close to the end of the alphabet. We have gone to double digits before though, or double characters before.
Double characters, you know?
Yeah, we've gone to like AA.
Where it's like AAs and like AI and EK or whatever. But yeah, so they're busy with 3.14. Systemic services and tools. In July, they SST's group did development on Quantum, which is the economy and AI simulation, which is needed for having the AI be somewhat indistinguishable from players. That we mentioned earlier,
Ideally.
like that it relies pretty much entirely on Tony Z's quantum technology. So it's actually cool that they're working on it. Like, they're actually developing it. We're actually getting updates on that. That's nice. That's nice. Tech animation. Again, more AI combat iteration, usables, and art refinement on head assets. Same thing as Squadron. The difference here, though, is with at least Star Citizen's animation team, talking about cross-platform RBF soldier to assist with character deformation. The mandate is to create same code base to be used in Maya and the engine for improved usability. Pretty much making like a baseline animation that they can then edit. Turbulent, which is the studio that now is working on pretty much making. They are the graphic team that make the website, but now they're working on the on planets, or they have a team working on the planets because they have the web platform, which is making the website, and Spectrum, which is the communications app. In universe, it is the internet. So that's cool. UI, we got the new. Building block UI, the spliced HUD, the new spliced HUD for ships. We also got a 3D skeleton on UI screen for the first time, which is what they're trying to iron out right now. Not in game yet, they're doing this in testing. And they also fixed some bugs with Alpha 3.14. A lot of the Star Citizen roadmap stuff here is going to be related to Alpha 3.14 as it is currently actively in the PTU. Which means that they're essentially on call daily to fix things and make sure that the PTU is working to the point where it can go live and everyone can play it. Or everyone that's a backer can play it. With relatively less issues than the PTU. PTU is always buggier than the PU. PTU, for anyone who doesn't know, is Public Test Universe. The PU is Persistent Universe, which is the live build of the game. Quote unquote. The live alpha build of the game. That vehicle team, they're working on. What are they working? Again, 3.14 stuff. Same with the VFX guys. But here they're talking about it will be nice to condense the macro-level vehicle scanning features into a more granular on-foot experience where players will be able to perform actions on entities that are only a few meters in front of them, as opposed to dozens of kilometers away. Which is nice because sometimes you have to wait for that prompt to show up. That's not always fun.
Mm-hmm. But here we can also we can just link the thing, so we don't need to read off all the.
Yeah, and we're done here anyway. So I mean, with the roadmap stuff. So now we move on to the biggin. The big one.
Just one.
Just I don't know. But we've got more news on the Activision Blizzard stuff, the stuff that's in the title of the video and the thumbnail and all that. We've got news. So let's start off with this because it's a little older and we didn't cover it last time, and that is Activision Blizzard staff responds to Bobby Kotick, the overpaid CEO of Activision Blizzard, a statement he made. They respond to him, and that being, I mean, the statement was just a load of shit. I mean, again, like as we covered this last week in our episode of Cast in the Shadows, episode 33, where we talked about how, you know, Activision Blizzard was essentially blowing smoke up everyone's ass when they're saying, "Oh no, they're false. You know, the accusations are wrong." But at the same time, they said that was the old Blizzard, which then validates the. You know, it's like bottom line is, I think we all can agree that these the claims, the allegations are true, and that Activision Blizzard are just some nasty folks.
Well, I mean, and what I hate the most about this kind of stuff is it's like every time you have a company and this kind of stuff happens, and I'll say, usually, at least when you hear about this stuff, it's usually just like one or two or a few people doing it. Here it seems like it's literally not just your upper management. It's like oh, if it's upper management, yeah, okay, you're gonna have the top brass covering for these guys as long as possible. If they don't actually go and nip this stuff in the bud as soon as it happens. But it seems like it went all the way down into your middle management, into your main work areas, which means it's not just a few people up at the top doing it. And yet they're using the same canned answers that any CEO would of any company. Oh, we take these allegations very seriously, but nothing's happening here. But if there is, we'll do an internal investigation, and nothing will change. And it's just like, for fuck's sake, guys, at least take
they're more
somewhat
concerned
seriously.
with they're more concerned with the company and the image of the company versus
Yes, the
even
image of it, as opposed to
and the executives
what's
as well,
actually
as
going on.
opposed to the employees and everything like that. And by the way, just a quick update on what the hell this story is about. Activision Blizzard was, completely, grossly abusing and mistreating and harassing female employees, where they had, male employees coming into work, drinking copious amounts of alcohol and going on what they call cube crawls, where they literally crawl from cubicle to cubicle and inappropriately touch and grope female coworkers. They would delegate their work to female coworkers while they go play video games. One of the more horrific and depressing stories for this was that one of the female employees committed suicide at a holiday party, as one of her superiors brought a butt plug and lubricant to the party, and at a previous party there were supposedly pics of her vagina being spread around at the party. Also, the fact that they were getting unequal pay, which is against the Equal Pay Act of 1963. 1963. There's an Equal Pay Act. It's against the law. You can't not pay people equally.
No, it's just like,
and also the fact that it was
honestly,
just a lot of labor
stupid
law.
shit,
A lot of labor law violations. There was 12
I mean,
different.
it's like, of all the stupid shit you're gonna
acts
do,
here that they
like
are illegal.
at this point with all the banks having electronic record keeping and stuff, it's back in the day when it was like the only one who would really know about what you were getting paid was you and the company. That'd be one thing, but it's like it's ridiculously easy to spot this kind of shit now. Why would you even think about doing it?
So the update here is Activision Blizzard staff respond to CEO Bobby Kotick's statement, where he fails to address multiple issues laid out in the wake of the lawsuit, which, I forgot to mention, it's the Department of Fair Employment and Housing of California suing Activision Blizzard for 12 different charges of labor law violations, indiscriminate pay, and sexual harassment, and all sorts of other problems. Check out our last live stream on the matter for details, because we actually read the entire court filing. Here, the staff at Activision Blizzard have criticized Bobby Kotick's attempt to address concerns at the company following a staged walkout last Wednesday, so a week ago. By the way, is it just me, or does Activision Blizzard have a walkout every other month?
Yeah.
Because they did one during the whole Blitzchung thing with I'm blanking on the game, but the guy that did Free Hong Kong and then was censored for it. Hearthstone
Yeah.
Championship. But they did one then. They did another one for something else. They're doing walkouts all the goddamn time. They're clearly not doing. I applaud their effort. We're not standing for us, and we're going to do something about it. But just from an outside view, I'm like, but you're not doing anything that's actually. They're not doing anything that's affecting change.
Well, why would you do that? It's far better these days to do something that has an appearance of change.
Well, I mean, this is coming. I mean, the employees. I'm not trying to bash on. Oh, you shouldn't walk out. I'm just saying. I just wish that they were doing something that actually would put a dent in the put a dent in the company, as opposed to just we're gonna walk out. It might put a dent, but they can undo the dent. They don't do work for a day. It's not gonna make a huge difference compared to going on strike for a month. Anyway, so they had a company staged walkout in protest of the firm's poor response to recent harassment lawsuit. The employee statement, which was shared with IGN, claims that the action detailed Kotick's original email fails to address critical elements at the heart of employee concerns. Specifically, it says Kodak's response did not address the following, which is the end of forced arbitration for all employees, worker participation in oversight of hiring and promotion policies, the need for greater pay transparency to ensure quality, and employee selection of a third party to audit HR and other company processes. And given that this was printed Thursday, a day after the walkout, last week's Wednesday walkout will demonstrate that this is not a one-time event that our leaders can ignore. The employee statement read, "We will not return to silence. We will not be placated by the same processes that have led us to this point," in which they're referring to HR, where when female employees were harassed, they would go to HR and do nothing. In many cases, the HR would actually report that the female employee in question, who was being harassed, they would report her to the person that was harassing them, and that is why they're being sued for retaliation, along with all these other violations and harassment suits. Because they actually, HR was not only not doing anything to solve the issue, they were making it worse.
But they were actively promoting the harassment.
And we'll get into more details on that in a sec. This is the beginning of the enduring movement in favor of better labor conditions for all employees, especially women, in particular women of color and transgender women, non-binary people, and other marginalized groups. Kodak released a statement the evening prior to the walkout, calling Activision Blizzard's initial response to the lawsuit tone deaf, and sharing the law firm Wilmer Hill had been commissioned to ensure that the company's policies promote a respectful and inclusive workplace. By the way, whenever someone says inclusive these days, it's or diversity or representation or now zero tolerance, at least whenever it's coming from a major corporation, a multi-billion-dollar corporation in the entertainment industry, sounds like you might as well just give me a pile of shit, because that's what it comes off as.
Well, I mean, for example, zero tolerance. What that usually means is we're not going to eat, and it's like
we don't tolerate you not tolerating us.
Have zero tolerance, because usually zero tolerance would mean if we see schools are like, oh, we have a zero tolerance bullying. It's like, oh, as soon as someone gets bullied and we catch it, we throw both of them. We go and we suspend or expel both of them. So we just don't bother doing anything. We just make it so it's no longer our problem and consider it solved. But we see that's not even the case. When we see that when HR is literally helping the abusers, you cannot say that's zero tolerance with a straight fucking face. Come on.
Yay. No, so continuing though, they said, as of writing this article, Thursday, over 3,800 current and former Activision Blizzard staff have signed an open petition condemning, which last week it was only at 1,000. So it more than doubled since last week when we reported this story last. Signed an open petition condemning the company's first response to the lawsuit, which called the accusations against the company distorted and in many cases false descriptions of Blizzard's past, which is contradicting themselves 3 different times in that one sentence. Then, so more to the point, yesterday, we had Bobby Kotick expects Activision Blizzard to become the very best example of other companies to emulate, and I did not laugh this hard in about a week. You know what? I have the perfect thing for this quote right here. Give me a sec. Galvatron, would you be so kind?
This is bad.
Not Galvatron.
This is.
Let's go.
This is.
Bad comedy.
This is.
It's literally like these guys don't even hear themselves when they talk.
I think they're probably one of those guys sniff their own farts and think cherry blossoms or something. I don't know. Cocaine. They get high off their own. Anyway, CEO of Call of Duty and World of Warcraft publisher also promised people will be held accountable for their actions. So when are you gonna fire yourself and go to jail?
Yeah, ain't gonna happen. I bet.
This dude is probably one of the most overpaid CEOs in the country, if not the world. Remember, Activision Blizzard is the same company after a record year, a record financial year in 2019, fired 775%, no, not percent, 8% of their employees, which was 775 employees, just so that the executives can get a bigger bonus. They fired 775 employees after a record year in late 2019. Or was it early 2019?
Seriously?
I don't remember. It was in 2019.
And again, these guys want to say they are the example to follow. Okay. Here, buddy.
The recently filed Activision Blizzard lawsuit and employee discontent at Activision Blizzard informed much of the tone of tonight's investor call, with CEO Bobby Kotick claiming the company will come to set the very best example for the games industry in dealing with misconduct. The call followed the results of the publisher's second quarter, in which net revenues rose 19% year on year to £2.3 billion, but bookings dropped 8% to $1.92 billion. As with the press release announcing these results, Kotick, CEO of Activision Blizzard, opened with the investor call with another statement reiterating the company's commitment to addressing the issues raised by the lawsuit filed by the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing, which described Activision Blizzard as a breeding ground for discrimination and harassment, and that is an understatement. And he says, "I want to start by making clear to everyone that that's no place in our company where discrimination, harassment, or unequal treatment of any kind will be tolerated. Nowhere."
Bullshit.
Yep.
Because either you're supporting it or you're so blind that you missed it when it's right in front of you. Because again, if it was just like one, two, three of your middle managers or your higher ups or something like that, I could buy some of the stuff where like, hey, look, they kept it under wraps. We didn't know this was going on. We are going to go and try to address it and make some change. You're like, okay, I can at least say it's plausible if it was just, even under like 10 people, when you have hundreds of employees, okay, fine. I can buy at least a tiny bit of the excuse that somehow none of the higher ups knew about it. But I mean, when we're talking about thousands of employees who are all going, yeah, this shit's going on, I mean, you really have no excuse at that point. And to say, oh, we don't support that kind of shit. Obviously, if nothing else, you silently condone it because you did nothing.
So now
and
we actually have
employees
proof.
knew about it.
We actually now have proof of it because of the whole Cosby suit, which was a lawsuit about Blizzard's previous. I don't even remember what he did at Blizzard, but. Afrasiabi,
Wait,
like the
Cosby
guy that
worked for Blizzard?
What?
Cosby worked for Blizzard?
What?
You said the Cosby suit.
Yeah, there was something called the Cosby suit, which was that was what it was nicknamed.
The Cosby
because of how
suit.
it was similar to Bill Cosby, who for anyone who doesn't know, or just doesn't remember Bill Cosby,
Sorry, I thought
would
you meant
drug
as
women.
in the lawsuit of Bill Cosby.
No. It was just nicknamed the Cosby suit.
I
But
think he means
Bill
suit,
Cosby would Crosby. Sorry, why did it say Crosby? Shouldn't it be? Oh no, because they're copying and pasting from the lawsuit, which had a typo. It said Crosby. But Bill Cosby, for anyone who doesn't know, drugged women and then did sexual things with them, raping them, which isn't good. That's gay. Not really, but anyway, he continues on saying, "We so appreciate the current and former employees who have come forward in the past and recent days with courage, and I want to reiterate the comments we have made to you." The CEO then went on to say the company has taken many steps already and pointed to further announcements today, including new leadership at Blizzard with Mike Ybarra and Jen O'Neill taking over as co-leaders in the wake of long-running precedent J. Allen Brack's departure. For anyone who don't know, J. Allen Brack is the president of Blizzard Entertainment, who, during the whole Blitzchung thing in... God, was that really only 2019 or 2020? Whenever that was, I don't remember when. 2020 has been a long year and thrown everything. But he was the guy that made that really half-ass PR apology statement during BlizzCon on the stage, where he didn't even mention Blitzchung or anything by name. So, not great guy either, considering how, again, he also condoned all this stuff. Kotick also claimed that the company would continue to investigate each and every claim we receive, and will take decisive action when it learns of any shortcomings. Although he did not offer detail on what this might involve. He also claimed Activision Blizzard is hiring additional staff to improve this process, with President and Chief Operating Officer Daniel Allegri later clarifying that these hires will be focused on the compliance and employee relations teams. People will be held accountable for their actions, said Kotick. That commitment means, thank you. That commitment means we will not just terminate employees where appropriate, but will also terminate any manager or leader found to have impeded the integrity of our processes for evaluating claims and imposing appropriate consequences. Yeah. So why we keep saying this is bullshit? Well, in the lawsuit that the DFEH filed, by the way, the DFEH is suing them on behalf of the group of women that were the victims of Activision Blizzard. They outlined how the Department of Fair Employment and Housing themselves, like the actual organization, was investigating Activision Blizzard for over 2 years prior to the July 20th, 2021 lawsuit filing. And they even tried working with Blizzard to mitigate and kind of settle this thing out of court. Try to use conference and mediation to solve the issue, and Activision Blizzard was not having any of it, so to court they go. But yeah, the CEO also claimed that his company is committed to considering a diverse slate of candidates for all open roles, fair and equitable pay, and creating work environments conducive to reporting any kind of misconduct. Dan, would you be so kind?
I mean, honestly, though, just all this shit, it's like if... I think the biggest issue here is that on one hand, we've got all of the higher-ups just going like, oh, this totally isn't happening. So it's like they aren't even acknowledging that there was an issue. And then they're going, but if there was an issue, we'll handle it. Or it's already handled. So just don't worry about it. And it's just like, if they were like, hey, if their CEOs or any of these statements being put out, if they were like, hey, obviously some people at our company fucked up, and that's partially on all of us because we're all part of the company. That's obviously not to say that everyone deserves blame for this, but it's like if you're seeing this shit and you aren't stepping in to stop it, you're partially responsible there. If they had put out anything along the lines of that, of going like, hey, we fucked up, we're going to try to be better, and like I said, anything along those lines, that'd be a pretty good move. The fact that all this shit is pretty much just going like, oh, this didn't happen, this doesn't happen here, but if it is, we'll handle it, don't worry about it. It's just ass covering.
Yeah, and there's another thing is this is normalized within the larger gaming, the AAA gaming industry. All these AAA gaming companies do it. Ubisoft last year had similar problems and are still being, investigated. Riot Games is still under investigation, and that's another thing is these things are going to take a long time. This lawsuit's going to be dragged out for God knows how long because Activision Blizzard's going to try and drag it out until the Department of Fair Employment and Housing either gives up or just doesn't see the point or runs out of money or whatever it is. And it's just the nature of these things. These things take a long time. Once they're...
Mostly because the companies drag their feet through everything.
Right.
I mean, partially, of course, you do, of course, want to make sure that
except for
your
games, apparently.
Eyes are dotted and T's crossed. Well, of course. Well,
except for the games.
As with all things, when it's the company needing to get something from someone else, then holy shit, it's a huge fucking problem, and we need to deal with it immediately. But when it's someone else who has a problem with the company, dude, fuck it. We'll get to it next century, maybe,
right.
if we're feeling generous.
Essentially,
So,
if it's not something that works in their favor, they're going to drag it out. If it's something that works in their favor, they're going to try and get on it as fast as they can.
But like I said, just the sheer fact that time and time again we're seeing in all these communications, there's not even an acknowledgement of, hey, and again, I'm not saying that you specifically, you Mr. Spokesperson, it's your fault, start throwing shit at them. But it's like, you're representing the company. When you're putting out these statements, you're representing the company, and the company fucked up. And there's zero acknowledgement or self-awareness of that fact in this shit. It's all just, we'll do better, maybe, we shuffled some stuff around. Isn't that good? It's like, for fuck's sake.
Cam, I'm going to need you to do that voice again, because the rest of this article is just quotes about Activision Blizzard essentially blowing themselves.
It's all just blowing smoke up people's asses.
We're monitoring the impact of recent events, obviously, but based on what we see currently, we have a strong lineup planned for the second half of the year. As we look into 2022, we're currently playing several titles across PC, console, and mobile from Blizzard, alongside more great experiences from Call of Duty, Candy Crush Saga, and World of Warcraft. Then they talked about rekindling the pride Blizzard's known for, which honestly, personally speaking, I never really had any attachment or connection to this company. I never played any of their games. So, I've never played World of Warcraft or any mobile games, really. So, I don't care. I know a lot of people have an emotional connection to Blizzard for some of the games they've made in the past, but I never played any of those games. And if I did,
The last Blizzard game I played was fucking Warcraft, not World of Warcraft, but
the original
Warcraft, the RTS.
Yeah, exactly. I've never even played that.
It was a good game for its time.
There's nothing more important to me than our people, and I know Mike Ybarra.
Bullshit.
I know, right? And for anyone who doesn't know, so I just read before, but real quick, J. Allen Brack, the president of Blizzard Entertainment, will be replaced by Jen O'Neill and Mike Ybarra, and Brack says his successors have the highest level of integrity. Employees gather a group, and they have a. I pulled this. This is from the Bloomberg article by Jason Schreier regarding Blizzard Entertainment president J. Allen Brack departing, as the game maker faces a major labor lawsuit from the investors this time around. And not the evil investors from the Venture Bros, because those guys were cool. Yeah. But yeah, so... And this, here's another... Oh, yeah, here's another one. She spoke of passion and creativity. Bullshit indeed.
Huh? There's zero self-awareness with any of these higher-ups putting this shit out. Again, just be like, if you were to have a spokesperson come out, and especially if it was one of the early spokespeople, would go, hey, we screwed up. Those of us who committed these acts, and those of us who stood by and watched these acts happen and did not call it out, and those who, even worse, when they found out about these acts, assisted HR, but we're going to be better. We're going to try to be better. We're gonna go and be open and public about this. We're going to go and clean house, and we're going to move forward. Honestly, that's it. If they were to put in a statement literally just like that, I'd be like, hey, at least for that person, who knows if the higher ups would actually follow up with that. But at the very least, that person, I'd be like, hey, they got a good head on their shoulders. They're actually fucking trying here. But all this shit, it's literally just. I mean, we heard him like, oh, hey, some stuff happened, but hey, we've got some cool stuff lined up for our games. Let's focus on that instead of the huge lawsuits here, yeah?
Yeah.
It's like, for fuck's sake. And again, it's like, we're not just talking about this being like, a couple people, a couple dozen people, even a couple hundred people. Literally thousands of your employees are all going, hey, this shit happened. We saw it firsthand. When it's that big, and all of your higher ups can do is go, yeah, some stuff happened. We're shuffling people around a bit. We got some cool game stuff coming. You want to hear about that? Like, do you have
the chutzpah? The chutzpah is
I mean, it's not even that. It's like they don't even. It's like they don't even have the self-realization of
They
hearing
fucking
what it is
killed
they're saying.
someone. Like they
I mean, it's like
indirectly
you
killed someone.
You literally had an employee commit suicide over this
Yeah.
shit, and your response is, "Yeah, stuff happened. You want to hear about some game stuff? Like, for fuck's sake! Even if you don't have empathy, you could at least pretend it."
Yeah, it's messed up. It's not right, and it gets worse. As we talked about with Afraziabi, well, let's go into details. I mentioned we would. Activision Blizzard confirms former World of Warcraft director, who left the company. What was it, like 2019? Not for what he did. He was leaving of his own, and still gets benefits and stuff. But the former World of Warcraft director was fired over confirms that he actually was fired over misconduct, apparently. As the Cosby suit reports emerge, publisher says it already conducted our own investigation and took corrective action. I find a hard time believing that, but let's read and see what it's about. Alex Afraziabi, the former senior creative director of World of Warcraft, was dismissed last year over misconduct in his treatment of other employees, specifically women. Activision Blizzard has confirmed. Afraziabi, who was the only person specifically named other than various references to Blizzard President J. Allen Brack, as well as Bobby Kotick and pretty much every executive, because in the court filing, they do mention pretty much every executive in the filing, but not specifically throughout the court filing because of the violations in law that they committed, but they mention all the executives by name and payment because they're comparing the payments of executives and employees, talking about the payment disparity and the discrimination pay violations. So that's why they're all mentioned. But specifically in the court filing, there is a case where J. Allen Brack and Afraziabi are both mentioned. J. Allen Brack gave him verbal counseling to essentially a slap on the wrist to stop his harassment of the female employees. It did nothing. But in the lawsuit, we already read that. According to the lawsuit, World of Warcraft director would reportedly hit on female employees, telling them he wanted to marry them, attempting to kiss them, and putting his arms around them. Afraziabi was known to engage in harassment of females. That his suit was nicknamed the Cosby suit after alleged rapist Bill Cosby. The document continues. Kotaku has run an extensive report on the Cosby suit, Afraziabi's hotel room during BlizzCon 2013, and the alleged misconduct that took place there, orchestrated by Afraziabi and other notable Blizzard employees. So he was not alone in this. In terms of just the acts that he conducted, he had help with, which is a little disturbing. Okay, it's a lot disturbing. Responding to this report, Activision Blizzard confirmed that it was aware of these claims and dealt with Afraziabi accordingly, which I call bullshit. Galvatron, take it away.
This is
Yep. An employee brought these 2013 events to our attention in June 2020. Wow. 7 years later.
You said 2020?
Yeah, an employee brought these 2013 events.
You said 7 years. 2020 was last year.
No, but an employee... The allegations, like everything that happened, was at BlizzCon of 2013. And it was only brought to their attention in June of 2020 by an employee. Yes. That is 7 years later. What, like, and the fact that he's still at the company, there's no way they didn't know about it. There's no way. Now, if it was like 2003, you can make the argument that they may have not known about it. But 2013, we're already within the digital age. There's no way they didn't know about it. An Activision Blizzard spokesperson told the site, Kotaku. I need to put that Kotaku. I think I put it in the real quick. I'm just gonna check the description just to make sure I put the Kotaku article in there. I did. Awesome. Okay, moving forward. Where was I? Here, we immediately conducted our own investigation and took corrective action. At the time of the report, we had already conducted a separate investigation of Alex Afrasiabi and terminated him for his misconduct in his treatment of other employees. Which I call bullshit, because at least it was reported that he left on his own. I guess we'll learn more. Earlier this week, the World of Warcraft development team released a statement promising changes both behind the scenes and in the game itself following the reports surrounding the lawsuit. The reports are related to how, like, they're going to get rid of some of the sexualized clothes and armor stuff in the game, which is interesting because in a BlizzCon, I don't even remember when it was, I think it was 2003, some woman asked Afrasiabi and J. Allen Brack about having less sexualized armor, to quote her, armor that doesn't look like it came out of a Victoria's Secret catalog.
Yeah, I mean,
and
really,
they literally just laughed it off.
Like, otherwise, if you want to have armor like that, sure, but it's like, hey, look, if it's a thong when the woman puts it on, it should be a thong when the guy puts it on. Equal shit here. Similarly, I'm going
to be honest, like,
full
at least
plate armor when the guy puts it on, it should be full plate armor when the girl puts it on, not a fucking corset and like some leggings, and you're still like 80% uncovered there. Come on.
I mean, I'm going to give Cyberpunk credit here. At least they actually did that. Like, they have the short shorts in the game. I know I have that on my character. But you can put them on the dude, and they're still short shorts. So I got to give him credit there, Like, you can have your guy look like a slut, and this is what we mean, by the way, where it's like, here you have Samus looking really awesome in armor, and then you have Link here in quote unquote female armor. You got the midsection and everything like that. It depends. Obviously, yeah, we've done this in the past. I don't want to get into it right now, where it's like we're spending hours on the technicalities of case by case basis on how it would work and how it won't work. Point being is that, like, at least here, this is actually a good representation of what you mean, where it's like, yeah, if you're gonna make this female armor, if you put it on a male character like Link here, it should look the same as it does here. So. But moving forward, while the in-game changes were not detailed, PC Gamer reports fans are calling for Blizzard to cut in jokes around Afrasiabi, whose name could be found connected to multiple characters and items. Literally, there are characters in the game named Afrasiabi. And fansite World of Warcraft head reports these references have since been removed. Activision Blizzard is currently under scrutiny not only for alleged discrimination and harassment. The lawsuit has excuse me. Harassment. The lawsuit has surfaced, but also for its poorly handled response to litigation. CEO Bobby Kotick eventually detailed plans for a third-party legal firm, which the Wilmer Hale, I think, commissioned to review its policies and procedures, and promised decisive action, which we just read about in the previous article, for offenders and determination for managers that have impeded reporting processes. Current and former staff have since claimed Kotick's statements failed to address multiple issues laid out in an open letter published earlier this week, which it's right here, over 1,000 current farmer. It's a mess. But looking at the details of this Cosby suit here, yeah.
Okay, again, you keep saying Cosby suit. Do you mean suite? Because a suit is a lawsuit.
Sweet, sorry, yeah, sweet. Cosby suit.
I'm sorry, that was bugging.
No. Thank you for pointing it out. I keep mistakenly calling it that. So, but yeah, since the news broke, it's yikes. So it was nicknamed the Cosby Suite, mentioned in the lawsuit. And that was apparently nicknamed for Afrasiabi's BlizzCon 2013 hotel room suite. Sorry, Cosby Suite, and seemingly a reference to the name of the previously convicted rapist Bill Cosby, who has now since been released on a fucking technicality. Afrasiabi worked on World of Warcraft beginning in 2004, designed some of its biggest quests, and eventually became creative director in 2016, Legion, and in 2019 Battle for Azeroth expansions. He is also the only person outside of Blizzard President J. Allen Brack outright named in the lawsuit itself, and not just the pay comparisons that I mentioned before. a fact that's made it easy for many to try and distance themselves from Afraziabi's actions. During a company event and an annual convention, BlizzCon, this is literally quoting the what's-from-face, the suit, the lawsuit here. We already read this, where he's talking about. Oh, but we didn't mention this part, although we did last week. This was in plain view of other male employees, including supervisors who had to intervene and pull him off female employees. Afraziabi was known to engage in harassment of female employees. That his suite was nicknamed the Cosby Suite after alleged Bill Cosby. After Bill Cosby, who is a rapist, unfortunately. But yeah, it's sick. It's sickening. It's horrifying. It sucks. But the Cosby Suite was more than just a nickname or a joke. Based on images and comments Afraziabi posted on his Facebook, supplied to Kotaku by a former developer at Blizzard, it was reportedly a booze-filled meeting place where many, including Afraziabi, would pose with an actual portrait of Bill Cosby while smiling. It was also a hotspot for informal networking at BlizzCon, 3 sources told Kotaku, where people looking to make inroads at the company would go to meet and hang out with some of its top designers, being Alex Afraziabi and other executives, I'm sure. Afraziabi did not respond to Kotaku by press time and has deleted most of his social media presence, but Afraziabi can clearly be seen in a number of pictures surrounded by a variety of unidentified people sitting on a bed. The captions of the screenshot suggest the album hails from gatherings held for BlizzCon 2013, in which he was groping and trying to get women to sleep with him and marry him and whatever, in a hotel room where that was repeatedly referred to as the Cosby Suite in comments. And I think here is one of them. Yeah. A lot of alcohol, and none of it good either. That's disappointing. Well, I have to make jokes, otherwise it's just too depressing. The captions and comments are both written by and referred by name to other Blizzard employees. The picture shows one ex-Blizzard source familiar with the people presented in the pictures identified an HR representative as one of the Blizzard employees present in the hotel room. Well, that explains a lot. Another image from the same Facebook album shows a screenshot of a 2013 group chat called the BlizzCon Cosby Crew. In it, former Blizzard designer David Kozak writes, "I am gathering the hot chicks for the cause." I assume meaning Cosby Crew or Cosby Suite.
Yikes.
And then is responded, and then Afraziabi responds with, "Bring them. You can't marry all of them," Alex Kozak writes. "I can. I'm Middle Eastern," responds Afraziabi. Jesse Crew, currently a lead designer at Blizzard, then writes, "You misspelled fuck." I assume referring to you can't marry all of them. So these are not people that we'll give them like a slap on the wrist and it'll change them, or counseling will change them. No, these are just dickheads. Are not going to change. Fire, terminate them.
Well, I mean,
you're terminated, fucker.
At this point, because also too, again, with what we're hearing here, these people should be in jail, not just fired.
Oh yeah, no, that's true. There should be, or at the very least, they're just throw them in jail. Yeah, they're breaking laws left and right, both sexual allegations and harassment laws, battery, and assault. Because of you mentioned this when we were talking about it last week. Where he's grabbing them and groping them against their will and stuff like that. That's battery and assault.
At the point where if you're talking about touching someone, and it sounds like there was a lot of talk of that kind of type going on, if you're talking about touching someone and they're like, "Hey, look, I do not want this," at that point, that is assault. For those who don't know, at least in the U.S. here, if I say I'm going to hit you, that is assault. If I actually hit you, that is battery. So that's why you often hear assault and battery. I'm going to punch you. Bam, they punch you. That is both assault and battery. If they just punch you, that's battery. If they talk about hitting you, that's assault. But it's like, at that point, in what way, again, and in what way do these guys think this is appropriate behavior? I mean, it's like, and it'd be one thing if it's like, someone's partying amongst fully consenting people on their off time, and someone's going and saying, well, hey, that reflects upon you as an employee. And it's like, look, what you do like at home and at work are two separate things. Like, I act pretty different when I'm online than I do when I'm at work because that's two different sides of me. When I'm at work, I try to act like a professional. When I'm on my own time,
Keyword there is
I
try,
act
by the
like
way.
like a general human being with some ethics and morals, but I swear a bit more. I was in the fucking army. It kind of just gets ingrained in you.
By the way,
But then, like,
keyword there was try. He tries to be a human being.
Yeah, but it's like when you have people again in what should be a professional environment acting like this, there's no excuse. There's zero excuse. You can't go and say, oh, there's cultural differences or this or that or no. I'm sorry. You are responsible. Once you are an adult, you are responsible for your own actions. If you cannot control yourself in at least a moderately, and again, this isn't saying like you have to act like a complete robot at all times, but no bullshit there. But
No, that's my job.
I mean, you're literally going around and you're assaulting people, you're battering people, and you think this is okay. It's not.
And in some cases, raping them.
Yeah.
Here's another thing too: is like he says,
Or,
I'm Middle
or
Eastern.
even the implication of it. Even the implication, hey, you better keep your, if you want to keep your job, you're going to sleep in here. Or if you want that promotion, no, I'm sorry. That's not only being, of course, immoral and unethical, that's completely illegal.
Yeah,
They call
and
it
here's another thing
pro
too.
quo.
He mentions like, oh, I can because I'm Middle Eastern. I'm half Middle Eastern. I'm never saying shit like that.
Yeah, I mean that's and again.
Also,
it's
why
like,
does it matter where you're
you
from?
Can't,
Fuck that. If
you
you're
can't
in
try
one
to hide
country,
behind,
you have to
"Oh,
obey
I'm
that
in a
country's
different
laws.
culture. No, I'm sorry. Welcome to fucking America.
Exactly.
Here. We have laws, and they apply to you. At least they should apply to everyone equally, regardless of what culture you're from. It's like when you have some Middle Eastern families going, I went and honor killed my sister because she had a boyfriend. No, I'm sorry. That's not going to fly. You're going to fucking jail for murder. Welcome to America. Laws apply to everyone equally, or at the very least, we should try to always apply them as such. Obviously, it doesn't always work out that way.
This
but
is
the-
why
the-
this is
the
why lawyers are
intent-
snakes.
Yeah, but I remember there was this quote I heard, and it was like, anything you say can will be held against you. A moral shyster will be appointed to get you off on a technicality. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, that's
But
unfortunate.
Ideally, laws should be applied to everyone equally. You can't hide behind, oh, I'm a different culture or anything like that, and try to pretend that what you're doing is
At least
okay.
you
It's
can't
not.
if you're in a place. Yeah, like if the case by case basis. The point being is, yeah, Cam's right here. Like I say case by case basis because if you're in a country where say, okay, I killed my brother, I killed this person out of honor or whatever. Like you say you're on an alien planet, that's their laws. Okay, that's their laws. I mean, yeah, it's not morally right, but legally you're in a different jurisdiction. That's how they do things there.
Or you start trying to kill us if we're on an alien planet. Yeah, well, you're going to go start.
As I said, it doesn't make it morally right, but again, laws are laws. Point being is, you have laws to prevent all this shit, and you're just breaking them anyways for no other reason other than sadistic self-pleasure.
Like, for fuck's sake.
Corey Stockton, currently a lead game designer at Blizzard, and Greg Street, former Blizzard developer, currently working on a new MMO at Riot Games, who's owned by Tencent, and is under investigation themselves for sexual abuse and allegations. We're also present in the chat, which again just adds more fire to the more wood to the fire there. Was also in the chat. The chat was provided as a series of screenshots depicted in a wide array of Facebook posts by Afraziabi, all under a 2019 photo album. The album contained a picture exclusively dedicated to the amount of alcohol procured in preparation for the Cosby suite, according to the captions, which we just looked at over here, where they have shit alcohol and some soda. And the album showcases the large framed Cosby photo from a variety of angles held by a number of different people. Really, I don't see that here. I guess it was a different picture. Let's see. Possibly the greatest group chat in the history of mankind, Stockton wrote in a Facebook comment at the time based on the screenshot. Stockton and McCree did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Street and Kosak declined to comment. This article has since been updated on July 28th, 2021 at 6:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Greg Street has tweeted a brief statement in which he claims the Cosby Suite was a green room for taking breaks during BlizzCon, and that he is embarrassed at the nickname of that room, given all that we know now. The original story continues below. Honestly, I think that's a load of shit, because this, if anything, this kind of implies that they knew about Bill Cosby's rape tendencies, for lack of a better term, back then in 2013, well before he was taken to court. What was it, like 2 years ago? Or 3 years ago, whatever it was. Like, this is long before the whole Cosby suit actually happened, where Bill Cosby was, alleged rapist and now indicted and everything, and then finally got off on a technicality just a few months ago, or a month ago. Like, this was before all of that, and it implies that they knew, which, again, just makes everything worse. And here's that screenshot mentioned before, where they're actually just joking around about abusing their female employees. By 2013, there were already multiple allegations of sexual assault against Cosby, even if a conviction, which was later overturned by a technicality, wouldn't come until 2018. According to one source with knowledge of the hotel room, the Cosby Suite name was a play on the comedian's iconic ugly sweaters, and didn't have any sexual connotation. At least not when the joke began. Yeah, I doubt that. Instead, they suggest the running joke was that the rooms in question looked dated, like the sweater. Okay. I mean, the sweaters he was wearing, I've seen my father wear. It's not that dated of a sweater. They're comfortable sweaters. I had them as a kid. They're not, they're just like they're no zippers or anything, just kind of like a giant t-shirt, essentially, but with sleeves. And made of a different material. It's not like flannel pants or something like that, or the waist high or the stomach high jeans from the 80s. That those are dated. This sweater was not. One source said that they were told it was a reference to an ugly boardroom back at Blizzard's main office, which reportedly had similar patterns to the sweater. Another said they understood it to be a reference to an ugly hotel room during a different gaming conference, but in all pictures of the 2013 BlizzCon hotel room, reviewed by Kotaku, the walls were largely white and black, and the decor was nondescript. In other words, it's a load of shit what they're saying. It's almost like Joker's origin story. It's multiple choice, but they're all wrong. The rug visible in some of the photographs does have a pattern, but it looks nothing like the sweaters in the framed pictures everyone is holding. Another ex-Blizzard source pushed back on the claims of the Cosby Suite was a joke about ugly boardroom or sweaters, noting that when Blizzard moved to its new Irvine, California campus in 2008, because for anyone who doesn't know, they were previously operating out of Delaware, I think it was. It was Delaware. But now they're in California, I think they have a place in Burbank, and mainly operating out of Santa Monica. The office had been freshly painted, and to their knowledge, there was no infamous ugly boardroom. So in other words, just more proof that it was a load of shit. It's probably because they knew about the Bill Cosby rapist stuff well before a lot of us did. Moreover, regardless of the source of the joke, many of the captions and comments posted on the 2013 Cosby Suite album are sexual in nature. During discussions with Kotaku, sources who suggested that the joke was an innocent play on the infamous room somewhere else that also insisted that, despite his apparent widespread notoriety, that was memorable enough to commemorate with a fan's picture, they did not know the room belonged to Fraziabi specifically. Two other former Blizzard developers told Kotaku that when they heard about the Cosby Suite through Whisper networks, they clearly interpreted it as a reference to the allegations against Bill Cosby. In one image procured by Kotaku, a group of women are sitting on a bed in a room with the Cosby portrait. One of the women appears to have a hand on another's breast, which is cheered on by the men in the comments. According to the images procured by Kotaku, the two sources with knowledge of Afraziabi's alleged predatory behavior, definitely not alleged anymore, Cosby's reputation was apparently the point of why the group of men gathered around his picture in the photos. So in other words, Cosby's rapist tendencies were their hero. That's what I'm
Well,
getting from
too.
it, which is disturbing
Well, I
as
mean,
fuck.
even ignoring all of that, if you are at a conference of some kind, irregardless of what it is, you should not have, again, generally speaking, you should not be having coworkers in your hotel room.
Unless
That is
you're, unless
an
they're,
Well,
I'd say unless you're like engaged with them or something. But it's like,
well, yeah, it's like if you have a personal relationship with like one other coworker or even more than one, okay, whatever, that's between you and your coworkers, whatever. But it's like that's if you are already in a relationship. But if these are just your coworkers, and even if you're trying to pursue a relationship with them, generally speaking, a hotel room at a conference is not the fucking place to do it. Don't do it. For so
it's
many
sleazy,
reasons.
it's creepy, and it's fucked up. And
It's sleazy, it's creepy, it's fucked. It's not gonna end well for anyone involved, no matter what. Don't fucking do it.
Yeah, but clearly these people don't have any moral compass whatsoever. They're morally, ethically, and creatively bankrupt.
Yeah, and again, the fact that and what I love too is with all of these things, like, oh no, it was just this Innokus joke kind of thing. It's like there's zero from again, at least the people putting out statements, there is zero look back of, hey, you know what? Damn, I completely missed the subtext there. Hey, we fucked up. There's no ownership that at least some people in the company fucked up and not pointing this shit out. It's just a complete blanket. Oh yeah, some stuff happened, I guess, maybe. We're sorry if stuff happened, which it didn't. We'll change, maybe. Like, for fuck's sake. We're literally talking about this stuff happening over years and years and years, and this is the best fucking response they can give? Come on.
And it gets worse. With such a boys' club, it was such a boys' club that creating something like the Cosby Suite was seen as funny. One source told Kotaku, "Only you could get an efficacy laid. Only you could get an efficacy laid." Alex Afraziabi reads one of the Facebook comments on the picture, and then says, "Pound Cos approve. Cosby approve." Reads another written by Kozak. Ex-Blizzard exec. However, one source told Kotaku that Kozak was one of the few people who intervened in the past when another Blizzard developer was sexually harassing them. And then we have from a former Blizzard developer here a quote saying that you have to be willing to look at the ugly side of things in order to get better. I mean, you gotta acknowledge the problem in order to solve it. The Cosby Suite and the BlizzCon Cosby crew chat also call into question recent statements by current and former high-ranking Blizzard developers. Wall Street recently apologized for a sexist panel response to a World of Warcraft fan at BlizzCon 2010. He did not, which is, I believe, the one we mentioned earlier. I said 2003, didn't I? With the Victoria's Secret catalog thing. Yeah, so that was, I said 2003, that's my mistake, 2010. I didn't even remember the year. But yeah, that was the thing where she asked about non-sexualized armor. But he did not give any public indication that he was aware of or involved in something like the Cosby Suite, despite it being publicly mentioned in California's current lawsuit. Afraziabi mysteriously left the company sometime last year without an official state announcement by Activision Blizzard up until the filing of the lawsuit becoming public. Many of his contributions to the game persisted, including multiple non-player characters and items that reference his name. After some fans demanded that the references to him be removed, the World of Warcraft team said on Tuesday last week that inappropriate references would soon be pulled from the game, while Blizzard did not specify what those will be, like what those references that will be removed will be. Exactly, they talked about that they will be axed, and mentioned that the brave women who have come forward to share their stories following the lawsuit and all that. An employee brought these 2013 events to our attention in June 2020. We already read that. A spokesperson for Activision Blizzard told Kotaku, when asked about the Cosby Suite images and allegations against Afraziabi, We immediately conducted our investigation. We already read that with the gamesindustry.biz article, but it's essentially like, yeah, you guys, there's no way you guys didn't know about this. When you have a face group, like, as I mentioned, like if it was 2003, even then, it's like, it's not like a case of, oh, he was just going word of mouth type stuff. They had a fucking face group thing about it.
Yeah, it's
so
like,
that you're telling me you didn't know?
This isn't just like one employee or like even like a dozen employees. It's not like this is like one team that was going and doing this again. We're talking about hundreds of employees at this point who, again, even if you aren't actively participating in it, you're directly seeing this stuff going on firsthand. And thousands who have at least heard of this stuff going on at the company. It's like, this isn't the kind of shit where it's like, oh, hey, it's like if one person was fucking around and somehow was keeping it under wraps, it's like, okay, you wouldn't necessarily be pointing at the whole company at that point. But when we're talking about dozens and dozens and dozens of people just having firsthand knowledge of this and
literally being participants of it
to come out, yeah, it's like,
and they're all high ranking too.
You can clearly point the finger that, hey, the culture at the company allowed these actions to prosper. Because it's like, because this kind of shit, it always comes down from on top. Whether at minimum, you have to have leadership who is either completely unaware, they're just off in their own fucking world and not checking in with what's actually happening in the rest of the fucking company, at minimum, or are actively condoning it. And from the sound of it, it seems like they were, at least to a certain degree, actively condoning it, because they're like, oh yeah, there was some verbal counselings that were given out. And so it's like, at that point, this shit is happening. You know that it's not all right, and yet you're giving out a couple slaps on the wrist for it. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And as I mentioned already, where they had the whole 2010 BlizzCon developer panel, Fraziabi and J. Allen Brack were essentially making sexist remarks and laughing off a question from an audience member who asked about less sexualized female character armor and stuff. The whole Victoria's Secret catalog thing. It's horrible. It sucks.
And it's like if that's the attitude they're putting out to just regular people out in public, and again, that's just in public, people in the community, and we're seeing now how they were treating people in private.
Yeah,
But it's not surprising.
No, that's the problem with this. It's not surprising.
With the sheer amount of bullshit we've seen going on at these companies before, and we've seen these exact same kind of canned responses that they're trotting out now. And I don't know about everyone else hearing it, but for me, they ring completely hollow and insincere. Because again, there's no acknowledgement that, hey, if nothing else, we the leadership fucked up in not pointing this out and not seeing this earlier, if not actively or inactively condoning it. And yeah, again, there's none of this. There's no self-realization here. It's all just, oh yeah, some stuff happened. We're shuffling things around a bit. Yeah, okay. Like, come on.
It's pretty much dodging. They're dodging everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and it goes and it shows too. Like, and again, you don't get away with this shit at this scale without your leadership knowing. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the upper leadership is in on this shit.
We know they are. We literally just read a list
Yeah.
of a bunch of at least ex-leadership, because some of these guys are
I
no
mean,
longer...
I mean, like the active leadership.
Oh,
and
you mean the guys that are still at the company right now? Oh, we know
yeah,
at
the
least...
the guys that are still at the company right now. I'm talking like CEO and down.
we definitely know
would
Bobby
not be
Kotick is.
surprised
We
if
know
they were
there's no
involved.
way a guy like that gets paid $100 billion without knowing this stuff.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, because like I said, if it was just one team or something like that, sure, okay, you could argue pretty successfully, I think, that there's a chance it was kept under wraps from your higher ups. But it's like these guys are your mid to high level management that are doing this. You can't not know these people at least in a passing level because again, all these guys are going to the same conferences. You don't have your junior staff going to these conferences. It's all mid-level and higher level personnel that are going to these.
Well, we have look the Blizzard Entertainment now. I guess now ex Blizzard Entertainment president J. Allen Brack. He's now leaving amid all of this. California lawsuit stuff. According to the Bloomberg article by Jason Schreier, he's leaving the company amid cultural reckoning at the parent Activision Blizzard Incorporated over California lawsuit alleging sexual discrimination and harassment. J. Allen Brack's departure was disclosed in an email to staff Tuesday, which was reviewed by Bloomberg. Brack will be replaced by Jen O'Neill. Mike, we already read that. They'll be co-leaders of Blizzard. The shares fell 3.5% Tuesday. Tuesday being yesterday. And a human resource executive, Jesse Meschuk, M-E-S-C-H-U-K, so I'm just going to say Meschuk, but probably mispronouncing that name, also left the company this week, according to Activision Blizzard spokesperson. Meschuk was the senior people officer at Blizzard and the unit's top HR representative, and also probably the worst enabler and retaliator of the group. Most probably. I don't know, I wasn't there. But Blizzard, maker of the World of Warcraft and Diablo games, was the main subject of accusations contained in the lawsuit. We know this. And Brack was named president in 2018. Still, Brack came under intense scrutiny after the complaint was filed over his leadership style. A video of Brack at the company event in 2010 resurfaced on social media, showing him on a panel with colleagues such as Alex Afrasiabi, laughing off a question from a woman about sexualization of female characters in the World of Warcraft game. O'Neill ran on Activision game studio called Vicarious Visions before joining Blizzard as an executive in January, and Ybarra, who, again, the two people that are replacing Brack, worked at Microsoft Corporation for nearly 20 years and managed Xbox Online services before going to Blizzard in 2019. Statement: Brack said his successors can be trusted and have the highest level of integrity and like who? All these people are jumping ship because they know if they're not part of the company anymore, since the suit's following the company, it's all legality bullshit, so they can essentially get away with what they've done and not have to suffer repercussions.
I mean, you could still open up at minimum. You could still probably open.
Oh, you totally can. I'm just saying that at the moment it won't be immediate. That's what they're doing. It's all a
time to plan.
Stall. It's all a stalling game for them. Like they say, okay, I'll leave the company, which means they can't do anything until after this or until they open a new case or whatever. Like this way, it gives him time to prepare, and as opposed to being held accountable for what he did, and in some cases, what he didn't do, because he did not stop the discrimination. He allowed it and fucking welcomed it. And apparently, we have another report from an employee. In August 2015, Blizzard employees were at a major cybersecurity conference in Las Vegas, where the company was one of the sponsors. Blizzard was one of the sponsors, and had a booth in the recruiting area. Emily Mitchell, a security researcher who at the time was looking for a job, approached the Blizzard booth to see what positions were open at the company. Mitchell told Waypoint that she loves PC games and played Diablo, Blizzard's role-playing game, which is a good game. I've never played it either, but I hear it's really good. Let me put it this way, I haven't heard any negative things aside from the newer ones. When she got to the table, she said she asked about the penetration testing position. For anyone who doesn't know, penetration testing, or pen testing, is the industry term for security audit, which I'm sure you know a lot about.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I can confirm that is the official.
Please, you
name
go
for it.
on, because you can probably explain it better than this article.
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially it's just when you, and there's different ways to do it, but essentially it's where you go and you can take it either from an internal perspective or an outside perspective, meaning either from I'm using our own tools to test this, or I'm approaching from a completely outside, like I literally just hook up a computer and I act like I'm a bad guy trying to get into the system here, and just seeing, okay, how effective are our defenses that are in place, whether that's on your website, in your game, whatever else. It's like if you go and start typing, if you start typing in this exact set of characters in the in-game chat and it crashes the server, that's a bad thing. You want to make sure that you aren't allowing anything in the server, except for a very few things by certain people who have certain permissions, doesn't get passed on as a command to the server, like that kind of shit.
Yeah, I know. I actually helped doing it once in my old high school. They had a pen testing thing where you do is essentially you're testing the school's cybersecurity. They do this a lot with public schools, private schools. They all do it because it's necessary. And pretty much you act as like you're an outside source trying to break in. So it's.
But yeah, but
and you're essentially testing security. You're finding holes. The point is, it's similar to game testing, where you're looking for bugs and problems in order to then
QA,
solve them
on the security side.
Yeah.
Which is quality assurance or analysis.
Exactly. It's essentially it's making sure things work and are stable and secure. But anyway, she was wearing. Mitchell said she was wearing a T-shirt made by cybersecurity company Secure State, which had penetration expert on the front. One of the Blizzard employees first asked if she was lost. Another one asked if she was at the conference with her boyfriend, and another one asked if she even knew what pen testing was. So that's not berating at all.
Yeah, it's like you literally have someone who it's like
who is a pen testing expert.
Yeah, it's like if someone walks up and they're throwing around lingo, like there was someone at an old job I used to work with, and they would just throw around lingo, and you're just cringing because you're like, that's not how this is used at all.
Oh my god, you were living in the Dilbert.
It's clear just from what the person is saying, they do not know how to use the lingo, and thus they are probably not knowledgeable about this when they're pretending to be. That'd be one thing, but it's like, you're literally just asking a serious question and you're getting blown off. And again, it's like this isn't it isn't even like this is on like social media or something. This is in person. Person walks up and you can
she's literally going to the booth to ask for a job.
Yeah, it's like if you can generally tell, at least for most people, if someone's like joking around or if they're being serious, it's like,
you're at a cybersecurity conference.
Yeah, it's like you're at a conference, you approach me like, hey, I was wondering if you guys have any job openings. I'm especially interested in security, doing penetration testing, that kind of stuff. And again, it's like if someone were to come up to me now, if I'm officially working and someone comes up to me and they say and I can go and tell from their tone of voice if someone's being serious or if they're going and they're making some kind of a joke. Even if it's a text conversation, they'll generally include like LOL, they'll include little emoji or shit like that. You can pretty easily tell if someone's being serious or not. And even still, when you're at a fucking conference, the assumption would always be someone is here to talk about the fucking conference, not about whatever fucking bullshit's going on in your head.
Like, why is one asking if she has if she's with her boyfriend?
Yeah, it's like
I can the one about if she's lost makes sense.
In the Middle East. Or at least it's still culturally fucking sensitive, but at least then you might have an excuse.
Like, at least the one where it's like a, Blizzard employee asks if she's lost. Like, okay, like, hey, you lost, like, what are you doing here type thing.
Well, like, I mean, not even that. It's like, someone comes up to you and wants to talk shop, and you're like, are you lost? At the very minimum, that's fucking
yeah, it's not nice, but it's not as bad as the other two, I think.
Oh no, but even so, just that those were the standard. If it was one person going, "Are you lost? Where's your boyfriend? Are you here with him?" If it was one person saying it, it's like, okay.
But it says another one, and then another one. There's three different people.
Everyone at the panel, and again, you are representing your entire company there, which means also too that the people who sent these guys there knew who they were sending. It's like, it's not like they don't know these guys. They work with them.
Hmm.
I mean, again, this points out to the entire culture of the company.
Not necessarily. Blizzard was only there in a sponsor context, so it doesn't necessarily mean they know.
Yeah, I mean, even still, it's like
They know one person that they talk to on the phone
sent.
sponsor the event. That's really it.
Yeah.
Or a
But
lawyer,
just
or
like
whatever.
these are the people you sent. You're gonna know who these people are. Blizzard is going to know who these people are.
I'm gonna share a story
you guys
here.
want to go, or they asked, hey, can we go to this one conference thing? Yeah, sure. Again, this is just yet another piece of the mountain of evidence coming out against Blizzard here.
I'm gonna share a story because I've actually had a similar. It wasn't a similar experience in that like I was getting harassed or anything, but I had a similar experience where you're at a conference and they have booths for the various sponsors at the event, and I was walking around. One of them was a Marine booth for the U.S. Marines. They were helped sponsoring the event. This was at the Halo Outpost Discovery event 2019 in Philadelphia. I was there. I walked by the Marines, to go say hi, and we ended up talking for like an hour. We ended up, they had a iron gym set up, so I'm like, mind if I use it? And we ended up doing like contests and stuff. But it's like, yeah, they were super friendly and stuff because the whole point of the booth is they're trying to get you to join. That's why they're there. So it's just interesting because I had the exact opposite, where it's like, yeah, it's a really fun experience, hanging out with these guys at the booth, versus here she's getting harassed for even walking near them.
Well, and it's like that's the point to show, like, and the problem is that obviously in this case it was probably that these guys were like, hey, free vacation.
They totally were. They were not in. They were not.
Yeah,
in fit
it's
shape.
like the
I
entire
beat them
point
in.
of it.
We were doing pull-ups and what's face. Blanking on the term, but essentially we were doing various exercises with the iron gym, and I was beating the hell out of them.
Yeah.
Not literally, but in terms of like more, I can do more, better. I'm like, like I'm beating them. Like, dude, you're Marines. Like, what the fuck?
Well, exactly. But it's like the entire point is that you're working. The entire point is that you're working. You are being the face of the organization to others to convince them, hey, come join us. Come work for us.
Yeah, they were fun guys. I got
see if you have the talent to join our team,
exactly.
or give us your money or whatever else. That's the fucking point. It's not a fucking vacation. It's fucking PR.
By the way, they gave me a free hat that I was supposed to pay for. Like, it was like a $2 hat or something like that. Like, you pay to get the hat. They're trying to make money for the Marines as well. And I'm like, I beat them. So I'm like, okay, I get this hat, right?
Yeah. Well, because again.
Well, we bet on the hat. Winner gets the hat.
They
Loser gets
out of their own pocket, and it's like,
nothing.
Hey, look, we give someone a hat. Not only are they going to be like, ah, sweet, free hat, but everyone else who hears that, they're like, oh, they just gave this guy a free hat. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, they're fun guys. That's the whole point.
Yeah, it's like, and again, that's free PR right there. That's the whole fucking point.
Nothing beats word of mouth.
To make a friendly face, to welcome people to your organization. That's the entire point. Yep. Obviously, not everyone has the same idea, but
no, clearly. But anyway, you thought that was bad, Cam? It gets worse. One of them asked me, she goes on, like this is her talking. One of them asked me, when was the last time I was personally penetrated, and if I liked being penetrated, and how often I got penetrated. Mitchell told Waypoint, I was furious and felt humiliated, so I took the free swag and left. Last week, the state of California sued Activision Blizzard for fostering the frat boy culture and being a breeding ground for harassment and discrimination and a bunch of other illegal activities. The lawsuit cited a series of now confirmed sexual harassment and incidents over the years, including drunk male employees going on cube crawls, as we talked about, where they're literally crawling from cubicle to cubicle, groping, and harassing women, joking about rape, commenting on female colleagues' bodies, and more groping. It's just fucked up. Yeah, fun.
Again. Based on, again, we're seeing a picture being painted of the company itself, and based on other interactions
of the company, at least,
from the company with the community, I'm not surprised to see that it's gone as wide as it has. Because again, how you treat people in public doesn't always, but often corresponds to how you treat people in private. For example, here, and by the way, I really hope no one's actually going and listening to this for dating advice, but some nice little tidbit of dating advice. If you're out with someone, and again, it doesn't matter if it's a guy, girl, whatever, if you're dating someone and you see them go and treat, like, you know, if you're at a restaurant and you see them treat the waiter or anyone in any kind of a service position like shit, that's going to be how they're going to treat you when no one else is around too, and they want something from you. They're going to treat you like shit. Like, it's a huge red flag. And again, any time you see someone treating someone else and there's no, if you're in any kind of even position of power, or if there's just no power balance at all, it's like, I'm never going to meet this person again. You see how someone treats that other person, that gives you an idea of their character. Or as they used to say too, see how a man treats his dog. It's like, if the guy goes and beats his dog, well, that's probably not someone you want to be around in private, because they're probably going to beat you too. So yeah, it's definitely not really surprising to me seeing how Blizzard has treated the community in the past. We're saying, oh, this is their internal culture too. Oh, yeah, that pretty much lines up with what we were already seeing of them.
Yeah. By the way, I just find this whole, like, you know, oh, how do you enjoy being penetrated? Like, that's just never ever ask anyone
at that point. At that point, that could be considered sexual harassment, as in like the criminal charge of sexual harassment. Like, seriously, people. There's a time.
You know what I'm gonna do next? I'm gonna try to do this for at least next time because this is gonna be an ongoing story for sure. If next time we end up covering this, which is hopefully not for another week, I do want to at least do something positive next week. But
no, you got nothing.
No, screw you, man. Hope next time we do we cover this story. I'm getting a friend of mine that has worked in PR. I want to get him on the show and talk about this, because he has some insights on this. And how, like, I want people to hear how he would have handled it, and this would have been great. It's nice, you know, to know that there are people that aren't just fucked up individuals or groups of morons.
Morons? You mean morons?
Anyway, but yeah, this was
Inside Star Citizen teaser's out.
What? The new teaser. Okay, so we'll play that. We'll play it at the end.
Better news. I'll throw it up in our...
Yeah, put in the group chat. We'll play it at the end. But real quick here, the news of all this stuff obviously broke with the lawsuit. Activision Blizzard issued a statement largely denying regulators' framing of the allegations as distorted and in many cases false descriptions of Blizzard's past, indicating that it was, even if it's not happening at the moment, which it still is, according to the lawsuit, it happened in the past, which is still, you know, eligible for criminal... for police action for criminal charges, and that past claims of misconduct have already been addressed, which is not true. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in this situation. That statement and recent comments by J. Allen Brack and other Activision Blizzard leaders have many current and former developers feeling like the company is at best in denial, or at worst intentionally seeking to obfuscate the truth and
obfuscate.
Obfuscate, thanks. And
no,
shirk,
I fully agree.
And shirk responsibility. I think it's true. I think it's 100%
yeah,
true.
no, I mean, and again, because we've seen zero acknowledgement from any of these statements going out, at least the ones I've heard that have come up here. There's been zero acknowledgement. They're like, oh, it's already been dealt with. If that was the case, this lawsuit wouldn't be going forward. You wouldn't have thousands of your own employees going, hey, leadership, you're spilling a lot of bullshit. Fuck you. This thing's going to court and we're supporting it. You wouldn't have your own employees throwing you overboard going, hey, you're full of shit. If it was already dealt with. Bullshit. At least have the balls to own up to it. I'm sorry, that was sexist. Anyway.
Well, not really, because all the guys, the perpetrators,
So-
except for that one lady last week that we read an email about, who was like, "Oh, I had it nice in the company." That's great that you had it nice, but all these other women
Yeah, but
didn't. So
at
fuck
that
you.
point, that's anecdotal evidence. Well, I mean, and it's like that's great that was your experience. However, compared to the mountain of evidence that we have, and the ever rising mountain of evidence we have, that's saying, hey, by and large, across the board, this was a very hostile workplace for women. It's great that that was not your experience. However, we've got a ever piling mountain of evidence. And again, if it was like 12 people coming forward and going, "Oh yeah, there was this one guy, he was doing some shit," and it was a similar response, I'd be like, "Yeah, we'd have to wait, and we'll have to wait until we have more evidence here." But we literally have hundreds, if not thousands, of Blizzard employees coming forward and saying, "Yeah, we saw this shit." We've got evidence going back years, documented evidence from the very perpetrators here piling up. It's like, yeah, no, you're not getting the benefit of the doubt at that point. Like I said, if it was like less than 10 people, it's like, yeah, okay, maybe we need to wait for more evidence here. There isn't that much that's been made public about it yet, but like I said, we've seen evidence that the perpetrators have put out and going, oh, well, that didn't have sexual connotations at all. Everyone else who knew about it, what are you talking about? That was totally sexual. Who are you trying to fool here?
Yeah. I think this statement here at the end is very, very true, though. I think it's definitely what they're doing. They're in denial at best.
Absolutely.
At worst, they're purposefully and intentionally trying to hide the truth and shirk responsibility, and I should add, stall and drag this out longer than it should be, because dragging this out is only going to make things worse too.
Absolutely.
As a result, over a quarter of Activision Blizzard's current staff. By the way, I should say that they employ like over 2,000 people. Oh no, they employ obviously more than 2,000 people, but they if 800 or 775 employees used to be 8% of their workforce, but 20% of their workforce is are women. I just thought that was something I forgot to mention earlier. Anyway, over a quarter of Activision Blizzard's current staff, as well as many former employees, have signed on an open letter, an open petition that we mentioned earlier, rebuking the company's current handling of the allegations against it. Many are also planning a walkout on July 28th, so, which was last Wednesday. They already did this. In support of demands like an end to mandatory arbitration agreements, transparency around compensation, and more diverse hiring. Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick announced last night that the company actually, when was last night? According to this article, but August something, right? No, July 20th. Anyway, but yeah, so he last night that the company's previous statements have been tone deaf and everything. We already read this stuff. It sucks. It's bullshit. Talking about how the company is changing and they're going to go forward making new stuff, and the integrity of our processes or evaluating claims will be better, and you have to be willing to look at the ugly side of things in order to get better. One former Blizzard employee told Kotaku, denials aren't going to help. Now this is true. I mean, a more accurate way of saying this would just be acknowledging the problem is the first step in solving it. At least that's how I would have worded it. And here you have Joshua Masquera. I don't know. English is not my best language. Hebrew, on the other hand. But one of the ex-Blizzard developers, pictured above in the Cosby suite, wrote a Medium post today that he was unaware of Cosby's history at the time. And then we had the ending of the article here saying like any people weren't able to comment and all that. Blah. I want to see what this Medium post thing is about. Medium Cosby Suite. Content warning. This article contains reference to Bill Cosby and his crimes, as well as references to harassment and discrimination. I don't think we really... Probably should have done like a warning at the beginning of the stream, but I Guess not. By now, you have probably heard about the Cosby Suite at BlizzCon 2013, and you may have seen pictures of me in attendance holding up that poster. I wanted to share what I wrote when I was asked to for comment earlier today. It was a hard decision to request anonymity. On the other hand, as I say below, the last thing women need is more men taking up airtime. On the other, I haven't seen many people standing up to take responsibility. Everyone, I don't even. Does this seem like a lot of shit to you?
Yeah.
Anyway, the statement, this is what he says. I'd rather keep this anonymous. I appreciate the opportunity to comment on this. Right now, I think we need to listen and amplify all the voices that are really hurting during this time. Well, that's true. The last thing they need is another male voice explaining what happened. I'm not defending these images, but I do want to offer context. As I attended that party at the Cosby Suite, there must have been close to 100 people at the party, Blizzard employees, and also their spouses, friends, and even family. Back then, in 2013, the suite was named after Cosby because of his hideous carpet that reminded us of his sweater, and not, as we would all find out a year later, the allegations leveled against the actor that once played Dr. Huxtable. Well, I just knew him from the Cosby Show, but yeah, that I find that hard to believe, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, that at least is like plausible, maybe, but at the same point,
I can believe that some people thought that, but I don't believe that's why the Cosby Suite was named the Cosby Suite.
When, among other things too, this sounds almost like a preemptive defense, and it's like, and this was made. You said the statement was made anonymously, right?
He said, "I rather would have kept this anonymous."
Oh, okay. But again, it almost seems like it's coming out as a preemptive defense of, well, I know this looks bad, guys, but, well, I knew nothing about it. And it's just like, really? Because again, when we have hundreds of employees coming forward and saying, hey, yeah, we've seen this kind of shit going on, really? You had no idea what was going on?
The image of the actor on the poster stood for a beacon of pretty much everyone's childhood, not just this guy's. But obviously, he had terrible dark secret. He was, drugging women and then raping them. So, yay. Not really. Sarcasm. That picture disgusts me now. Looking at it feels like a punch in the stomach. I can only imagine what it feels like for others. Saying he doesn't see Bill Cosby anymore, but he sees a rapist. No. He's just talking about what the image means to him, which, I mean, that's fine. I feel confident that none of the dozens of men and women in those photos knowingly held up a picture of a monster for a photo op, beers in hands, silly smiles on their faces. I am not denying there were problems. Was it professional to have a giant sweet party with alcohol where fans mixed with devs and family? Definitely not. Some of the pictures in the series have women holding up the poster, but a lot of them do not. Too many of them do not. In the best cases, we were not inviting and including their voices. In worst cases, we were actively destroying them. Were there systemic problems at Blizzard? Absolutely. The stories are horrifying, as we've learned in the past week. I am glad we are pausing to reflect, evaluate, and listen, something we should have been doing all along. So he's actually, acknowledging the problem. So,
yeah, well, and it's like,
which is something that
is the first person that
the others
really
aren't.
is kind of acknowledging, yeah, this shit happened.
After making that statement, I learned that the suite was named after Cosby because of his previous party during GDC of the same year, which I did not attend. If you take nothing else away from any of this, I want you to know this. When I first heard about the Cosby allegations and Weinstein and so many others with allegations big and small, I thought it was appalling. But I also thought, of course, it was the film industry, not us. Then I hear about Ubisoft and Riot, and I think, of course, they were bad. Not us, though, not me. I wanted you all to resist the temptation to think now that it is Blizzard's problem. I am here to tell you that it is not just a Ubisoft or Riot or Blizzard problem. It is you, it's me, it's all of us as an industry. So he's actually acknowledging the fact that this is good. Like, this is not just...
Yeah, again, so this is the first person where they go, hey, we fucked up.
Yeah, it's like, it's not, because it's not just the film industry. It's the entertainment industry as a whole. Film, games,
media,
TV shows. Yeah. Obviously, news and stuff too.
I remember growing up and hearing about this kind of shit in like the music industry. Like,
the music industry has been,
like these,
oh my god,
young singers and stuff.
Oh my god, yeah.
hearing about all the fucking
Even
scandals
what's her
and
face, like
sexual
Spinal
assaults and
Tap in
rape.
was it the 80s? Whenever did This Is Spinal Tap come out? Like they make fun of some of that stuff in
Yeah,
that
it was
movie,
like, what the
and
fuck?
that came out over 30 years ago.
Yeah, so it was like it was already. I mean, this shit.
This shit, I mean, yeah, this shit's like 50
Unfortunately,
years
to
old.
a point, it's
Unfortunately,
almost it's the darker side of human nature. But that's no excuse to go and allow this shit to happen. You
but
know,
at least he's
you're always going to
acknowledging.
have some people who try to use whatever positions of power they're in to abuse others, and it's not right.
Right.
But to go as with
right.
at least all these, except for apparently this guy, with all these other leaders, they're pretending, oh yeah, this shit didn't happen, but if it did, well, it's fixed now, and we'll be better in the future. Bullshit.
But it's like it's actually saying he's actually kind of agreeing with us here. It's like, yeah, it's not just
Yeah.
Riot or Ubisoft or Blizzard and Activision and EA and all these other AAA gaming. It's the industry as a whole. It's the gaming. It's the entertainment
Yeah.
industry as a whole. All of the entertainment industry: films, games, TV shows, music, what have you. And we've been saying that for like the last 5 hours.
Yeah.
All of us who missed what was in front of our faces, who didn't listen, who excused and brushed off or ignored it, who never stopped to see that intent and impact are so very different, who never stopped to consider the consequences of our actions. I still have so much to learn and so far to go. I know it is not and will never be enough, but I still want to say I'm sorry. We have to be better. Ever since I played my first game of D&D while growing up in Mexico and Canada, I knew I wanted to make games, whether it was Relic, Ubisoft, Blizzard, or now Bonfire. It's my colleagues that make working in games so special. Right now, many of my colleagues are hurting. While making games is fun, it is time for us to grow up as an industry, time to level up and change. So that's actually nice to, like, wow, he's actually the only person that's actually acknowledging the reality of the situation. And I'm going to say this, he definitely kind of like, yeah, we should have, we were ignoring it, but he's very clearly, as we just read in the article with the evidence and screenshots, he was very clearly part of the problem in a more active way than he's making it out to be here in the article, in his own statement. But, at least he's owning up to it. He's not owning up to it as much as he should be. Like, okay, what I did is wrong. I need to face the penalties, and all that for my actions.
Well, I mean, and I
but he is acknowledging the situation.
I won't necessarily say every single person who stepped foot in the hotel or even that hotel suite was part of that, because they would specifically want to have people who don't know what's going on surrounding them to give a general air that will bring in their other victims. It's like they aren't just going to go and surround themselves with cronies just because they probably wouldn't think they could go and keep it on for so long if they try to bring everyone in. But
so he's in this picture here, that guy that we just read the statement from. Like they're holding up Bill Cosby's photograph.
Oh, and exactly, and it's like, honestly, just from the very get-go, why are you holding up some fucking guy's picture? It's weird.
Yeah. I'm gonna say this, like, yeah, it's nice that he's owning it up. I'm still very skeptical. That's just my nature. It's clearly like it feels a bit of a reflection, and not in like I'm reflecting on the past, but like reflecting the negatives of it personally to him. But at least he is saying some of the right things here, where it's like, okay, yeah, it happened. It shouldn't have happened, and it's not just Ubisoft or Riot or Blizzard. It's all of the entertainment industry. And it's been a problem, and it needs to stop. Like, he's saying the right things there. I just think that he's also kind of not including the fact that he was part of the problem. He encouraged it and enabled it along with everyone else. So. Unfortunately. It's a sick situation and does need to stop. But honestly, I think a cleaning of house is in order.
Oh, absolutely.
Like it's not like you're not going to change these people. It's very evident these people are just sadistic, cruel.
It's like you
messed up
need
human
to clean
beings.
out pretty much all of your top leadership, and a good chunk of your middle management too, because they're the ones who are either going and actively promoting it or turning a blind eye to it. And especially at your top leadership, if you didn't know, again, if it's going on for years and it's that prevalent across your company and you don't know this shit is going on, at that point you're incompetent and should be fired as well.
Right.
So it's like
It's your
either way,
job to know about this shit and put a stop to it.
exactly, because like that's the point of being a fucking leader. Not to mention too that you're like how you lead, what you do is what sets the culture for the rest of the company, and that travels on downward. So either A, you're turning a blind eye to it purposefully, or B, you actively promoted it. Either way, you're fucked.
Yeah. Last thing about this story, and then I guess we'll go back to the Star Citizen, some positive stuff. This is actually today. Activision Blizzard faces a new lawsuit, this time from its investors. The following alleges that the company misled investors by not disclosing the issues with its workplace culture. A class action lawsuit has been filed against Activision Blizzard by investors' rights company, Rosen Law Firm, on behalf of the studio's investors. By the way, before I continue, just want to mention the third-party company, Wilmer Hill, that they're hiring to do a policy review or whatever for Activision Blizzard, is certainly going to be... That's not a company... It's another company. It's not a state-regulated thing, which is a way for them to essentially go, oh, no, see, look, our policies are fine. This company said so, when the state is investigating and suing them for breaking federal as well as state laws, local and federal laws. But anyway, the lawsuit here, the lawsuit by the investors here, alleges that between August 4th, 2016 and July 27th of 2021, purchasers of the securities of Activision Blizzard were misled as the company didn't disclose the issues with its workplace culture that emerged in the recent lawsuit filed by the Department of Fair Employment and Housing in California. The lawsuit described Activision Blizzard as a breeding ground for harassment, discrimination of women, and frat boy culture, cube crawls, all the stuff we listed before. The investors claimed that Activision Blizzard made false and or misleading statements and or failed to disclose a number of things, including that it discriminated against women and minority employees, that it fostered a persuasive frat boy workplace culture that continues to thrive even to this day right now. It's not stopping anytime soon, unfortunately, unless... this is why I'm hoping that the Department of Fair Employment and Housing wins. I kind of... unless they clean house the entire corporation, honestly, just tear them down. Fuck it. If there's going to be a power vacuum in the gaming company industry, there's going to be a power vacuum in the gaming industry. I honestly don't care anymore because the AAA gaming industry is utter shit these days anyways. So I just say down with them, off with their heads.
It's literally just
Not literally.
the indie industry of games that's really pushing the boundaries, because as we've seen with all the AAA shit, it's all just fucking...
It's copy-paste nonsense. Yeah. Which we'll talk about Monday, because I got some new Halo Infinite news that I don't want to get into here because we'll be here for another hour. The other thing they listed here was that complaints for harassment, discrimination, and retaliation, which a lot of people aren't talking about. We talked about that last week, where literally employees, after they were reported upon, would then retaliate to those that reported on them, to the women victims that they that reported about the harassment. Made to HR and leadership went unaddressed, which is understating that.
Or worse, reported back to the harassers.
Right.
Which again, HR that makes you
essentially saying
as bad,
that
if not worse.
you're not only not addressing all this stuff, you're making it worse. Is pretty much what they're complaining about.
And that's literally your job supposed to be. Again, I know that on paper HR is like, oh, we're here for you guys, we're gonna help, and it'll be great. But in reality, we're just here to make sure the company doesn't get sued as much as possible. But it's like, you literally just took an already horrible problem and you just made it absolutely worse.
See, that's why I want to bring my friend on, because he worked as an HR guy, and he told me, like, that's not what HR is supposed to be. That's not what HR's job is. It's not to protect the company. It's supposed to protect the employees of the company. That is your job.
That's what ethically and morally what it should be. But
no, that's what it is on paper too. That's what he's telling me. Like, and he actually was an HR guy for a company. So
yeah, well, if that's the case, it seems like HR never really lives up to.
No, I'm saying that that means that all these HRs are not doing their jobs properly. That's what I'm getting at.
Well, yeah.
Just because it's normalized doesn't make it okay. That's the whole point of this.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Like, that's what you have the PR team. The PR team is supposed to make sure that the company doesn't get sued and shit. HR is supposed to protect the employees. And you have the legal team to protect the company as well. HR is for the employees. That as a result of the above.
But, you're right. That is what it should be.
Yeah.
And the fact that,
like, you have all these other things to protect the company. HR's the in-house stuff for employees. So yeah, they're talking about how that was unaddressed, all the retaliation stuff and all the complaints to HR, how they just made things worse. They also are suing because the investors are suing them on the complaint that persuasive culture of harassment, discrimination, and retaliation would result in serious impairment to Activision Blizzard's operations, in some cases death. That as a result of the above, Activision Blizzard was at greater risk of regulatory and legal scrutiny and enforcement, including that which would have a material adverse effect, resulting in the current lawsuit of the Department of Fair Employment and Housing of California, literally the state itself suing a major corporation for breaking a myriad of various discrimination, equal pay, labor laws, and sexual harassment laws. I can go on. And lastly, they're suing because the company failed to inform investors about the Department of Fair Employment and Housing lawsuit that had been ongoing for 2.5 years. It says 2 years, but it's been a little over 2 years.
Yeah.
According to the law, to the Department of Fair Employment and Housing. It's actually been investigating them since a little over 2 years. So as a result,
that's just how long they were investigating them for.
Right.
The action had to have been going on for years before that.
Right. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been investigating.
Investigated them.
Yeah. As a result, Activision Blizzard's statements. The investors the defendant's statements about Activision Blizzard's business. Oh, let me read that again. As a result, defendants' statements about Activision Blizzard's business operations and prospects were materially false and misleading and/or lacked a reasonable basis at all relevant times, the lawsuit said. As a result, investors suffered damages when the harassment allegations emerged via the Department of Fair Employment and Housing lawsuit, and they were now seeking compensation. Because this isn't saying that they didn't know about it until we all knew about it. Through the actual court filing that was released by the Fair Employment and Housing Department. Activision Blizzard reported its second quarter financial results yesterday, which were overshadowed by the abuse allegations. CEO Bobby Kotick insisted that the company remains intensely focused on the well-being of its employees. Galvatron, take it away. Thank you, Galvatron. The company has previously announced that its internal processes would be reviewed by a law firm, WilmerHale, which is a third-party legal company, really a law firm, to review all of its internal processes. So this way, they can say, "Oh, it's fine," even though the state can say it's not. And in other words, to help denial and to willfully prolong and hide the truth and the facts and stall all these things and make it go longer and stretch it out and make it more painful for literally everyone involved and everyone not involved as well. But yeah, so they are getting reviewed by WilmerHale with Activision Blizzard employees sending a joint letter to Bobby Kotick and leadership yesterday denouncing the company's choice because of the yesterday being Tuesday. Today's Wednesday. denouncing the company's choice because of a conflict of interest and Wilmer Hill's reputation for discouraging workers from unionizing. So in other words, they're seeing through the bullshits as we are, the workers. I mean.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, hey, no, this is just exactly as I said. Like, they're just doing this to prolong things and to prevent us from winning. Yesterday, Activision announced that Blizzard President J. Allen Brack was leaving the firm after 15 years to pursue new opportunities, in which we talked about how he's being replaced by 2 people, thanks to Jason Schreier's Bloomberg article. And here's the reject company's choice of law firm. It's just a little short snippet about them talking about how they're like, no, we don't want this third-party company that you hired, like the company hired. So that Activision Blizzard hired
like,
this law firm, this third-party law firm to review their stuff, because essentially that means that Activision Blizzard has control if they're hiring a law firm to do this.
Yeah, it's like
because they can just give them whatever they want.
By the way, if you find some shit, keep it on the DL, right?
And even not, because the whole point is they literally have to, this way they can control it and give them stuff, pre-doctored or whatever documents, whatever the investigation entails. They can control, I would say, 80% of that, compared to if the state investigates them. The state can, have a permit and stuff to actually just go through all their shit. So, not fun. But there you have it. I need to update the description so all these article links are in there, because for anyone who doesn't know, I put the sources, I note all of my sources in the description, so this way you can actually read the articles yourself and check out our stuff. But shall we move on to some good news, because that's kind of it with the Blizzard Activision stuff. This is not the Blizzard Activision stuff. This is from today, though. HR executive leaves company amid harassment lawsuit. Oh, we read this already. But we didn't read the details. Okay, so Activision Blizzard's Senior Vice President of Global HR, Jesse Miscook, reportedly left the company earlier this week. They departed. Their departure was reported by Bloomberg, follows criticism of the firm's HR department as a part of the lawsuit alleging all the sexual harassment stuff, because they were not instigating, but antagonizing the situation even more. A new report from Axios contains several testimonies from former and current Blizzard staff, and details inappropriate and unsatisfactory action from the HR department in response to complaints. One employee shares her experience of an untouchable colleague she raised several complaints against. To be told by HR representative, it's not harassment, he didn't touch you. Essentially saying, like, he's untouchable, you can't do anything to him.
Well, I mean, also
despite
too, like,
him actually abusing you.
In the Army, we probably get overly trained on this kind of shit to the point where we do joke with our suicide training. We have so much suicide training, we want to kill ourselves. But for like our sexual harassment,
do they give you how-tos?
Training, like, it's not just physical. It also covers things like gestures. Because if you're going and like staring at a coworker of either gender, it doesn't even need to be someone of the opposite gender. It can be someone of the same gender. It doesn't matter. And you're going and making like a jerking off motion with your hand or something while making faces at them. It's like, that's harassment. It does, and again, it doesn't matter if they're the same gender as you, the opposite gender of you. It's like, if you're in the workplace, that's inappropriate behavior there. That being said, stupid shit does happen, but even still, it's like at the lowest level, you would be like, hey, can you please not do that? We're fucking working here. Come on.
The point being is that it's still harassment, even if they're not physically touching you.
Exactly. And you can also have visual harassment, which again, if you go and you have, hey, here's my gear, and I've got fucking, nude photos on there or pinup models, shit like that. It's like, I'm sorry, that's inappropriate for your workplace.
Also, odds are this was probably
on your workplace.
This was probably a woman who was complaining about how they're like talking, like coming on to her, which doesn't involve touching. It can just be verbal harassment. Anyway, the same employee also shares that a HR rep said that she was acting like a brat and was told to suck it up in response to a complaint, which was actually we actually read that in
that's a childish and demeaning.
Yeah.
For HR to be the one, it's like
we read that in the court filing last week, and it doesn't make it any better. It makes things worse actually. Another former staff member said that reporting issues has a surprising lack of paper trail, and you're just sort of saying these things out into the void. This is why I need to wear a wire every time you go to the HR.
Exactly.
Speaking to Axios, Activision said, "We will not tolerate anyone found to have impeded the integrity of our processes for evaluating claims and imposing appropriate consequences. If employees have any concerns about how human resources handled claims, we have other reporting options, including anonymous ones." In other words, load of bullshit. Activision is now facing a second lawsuit, this time from its investors. Filings alleges that the firm misled investors by not disclosing issues at the company or informing them of the Department of Fair Employment Housing investigation that had gone on for over 2 years. Yesterday being Tuesday, Activision announced that Blizzard President J. Allen Brack, we read that when he's being replaced by Jen O'Neill and Mike Ybarra, have been appointed co-leaders of the company, effective immediately. So yeah, not looking good. Also, we forgot to mention this last week, but just real quick, Ubisoft actually spoke out against Activision Blizzard in a statement. It was just like a one-off statement, like we don't condone what they did, like we're not perfect either, but we're doing our best to handle it and stuff. Like that's really it. In other words,
and like I said, it's like with most of these spokespeople, except for like that last one who put out a comment, it's like you're seeing almost no acknowledgement that even anything happened.
it's not playing the goddamn little thingies. I can't play it.
This week on Inside Star Citizen,
But they can hear it.
behind the scenes with game production of the U.S. vehicle content team. Then it's 2 sprint reports in a row. It must be the road to CitizenCon. Inside Star Citizen, Thursdays on YouTube.
So there you go. There were very little visuals, so you're not missing anything. We're talking about origin stories, like origin chip manufacturer, print report, pretty much a usual Inside Star Citizen. So we're gonna get that tomorrow. Inside Star Citizen, for those who don't know, releases every Thursday. But yeah, so that was the Activision Blizzard stuff. I think we've spoken it to death. Thankfully, we didn't go in circles like we did last week, but it's been a very... Look, at the end of the day, this is not an exclusive problem. This is a problem the entire gaming, the entire entertainment industry, movies, games, music, TV, comic books, everyone, all these entertainment companies are perpetrators and crooks
Moral shysters
are all fucked up perpetrators of this type of behavior, of this frat boy type culture of sexual and emotional abuse and physical and sexual harassment on employees. Like, this is not something new to any of these industries. It's been going on for years, and it's nice to finally see some legal action by the state of all people to be taken here. But I do hope that Activision Blizzard, at the very least, get taken down a peg or two, but at most, kind of get taken down. I mean,
but honestly, at that point, they need.
You need to clean house entirely, at least with the leadership, which I don't see happening without taking down the entire or getting bought out. Like, so, yeah. Brightest Day is in the chat saying, hail. So, hail Brightest Day. But yeah, that's Activision Blizzard, Ubisoft, Riot Games, EA, what the fuck? Marvel, Disney, Hollywood as a whole, the gaming industry as a whole, AAA gaming industry as a whole. I mean, I'm sure there are indie publishers and developers that do this too. Wouldn't be surprised, but I haven't heard any stories yet. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case. But anyway, the gaming industry as a whole, the entertainment industry as a whole, whether movies, comics, whatever, they're all perpetrators. They all do this shit, and it needs to stop. It's not right. But that's all I have to say on the matter. And I definitely think next week I'll try to get a hold of my friend Andy, get him on the show so he can talk about all this stuff and his experience with being an HR member of a company. I don't remember what company he's none I know. He didn't work in the entertainment industry. That already speaks volumes on his experience. But he did tell me that HR is supposed to represent. It's supposed to represent and protect the employees, not the company. Versus the legal team and the PR teams, they're protecting the company. But evidently, in this Activision Blizzard case, everyone's only protecting the company. The company's their sole priority. The employees apparently they're victims for sure, and they don't seem to care about that.
Oh yeah,
as the
every
article
response from the company is showing the leadership is giving no shits.
Yeah, they got no more fucks to give, and as the Kotaku article really well put, they're either in denial or they're purposefully, and I think they're both. I think they're saying they're in denial, but purposefully hiding the facts, hiding the truth, and stalling. And they're trying to stall, prolong this thing, drag it out for as long as they can to give themselves a bit more time to properly prepare and preemptive strike on all this. Which is what I think the Wilmer Hale thing is, where they're hiring a third-party law firm to investigate them. Like, they're hiring them to investigate them. There's nothing right about that. So, I think that it's shit. I think that the problem, honestly, is the company itself, is the leadership itself. I mean, as I said, I have no personal attachment to this company and all the games that they make. So if the company goes under and the games are gone, I don't care. I know a lot of others will be disappointed, but at the same time, like, have they been making any good games lately? Like, what like the last Activision game I played was, I think, the Wolverine game from 2009 or 2010 or whatever. Because they published that. They didn't make it, they published it. So, yay. Anyway, and that's it for the leftovers. I had a lot of leftover scraps this week. Oh, I did forget to mention in Sunday stream about the Scarlett Johansson versus Disney lawsuit. That forgot to bring this up, but Marvel screwed over Stan the Man Lee, with the original Spider-Man movie. Forgot about this. But they screwed him out. Like, they didn't pay him any royalties for the character he created.
But it's not surprised.
No,
I mean,
he took him to court. He also took him to court.
Board.
So.
Star Trek, Marvel. Yeah,
well, I'm just saying Marvel specifically screwed over the guy that literally created the characters that are being like, and it's like not even just like, okay, he created the Winter Soldier, like, and no, I'm not trying to shit on I think Bruback or whatever, the guy that created Winter Soldier. I'm just saying, like, here you have the guy who created, Spider-Man and Iron Man and Hulk and all these incredible characters. It'd be like if you screwed over, if Jack Kirby was still alive, rest his soul. Because he died in 1994. But if he was still alive and they made the Captain America movie and didn't pay him, I would be furious. The dude created Captain. The dude is responsible for the most American superhero ever in the best way possible. What's the Star-Spangled Avenger? Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to mention that. So this isn't. We talked about it on Sunday. It's nothing new that Disney's doing, and that Scarlett Johansson is suing them. I think rightfully so. I mean, the reasoning, I think it's greed. It's greed, pure and simple. But the suit itself is definitely long time coming. I think it's good that they're being sued.
Oh yeah, honestly,
Because again, it wasn't if just alone for the breaching contract stuff, all the streaming service stuff. We talked about it on Sunday, so go watch that video. But it's very gray waters, and how the streaming services tend to screw over a lot of the creators. That you put a movie on it, and how are the people that made that movie getting paid? Versus in a box office or DVD sales, we know how they get paid from that. They get paid for the sales of how well it did in the box office, and from the sales of the giant bulk sales of DVDs are sold to retailers. That profit goes some to the makers of the film, and they get royalties whenever it's on cable or whatever. But that was then. Now you have the streaming services; they don't see any of that money at all. It's not in their contracts. It's purposely done that way so that they don't get any money, and they're rightfully suing for that. I'm actually really pleased with the visual I have on the screen right now. It's a Tavarin. What the hell is the fighter called? Right?
Which fighter? What
The Tavarin fighter.
The
Talon. That was it. Talon Shrike. I have the Talon Shrike on the screen right now in Quantum Jump. So you got the cool Tavarin quantum travel visuals. Yeah. Nice. Got anything else? These ending statements, I guess, right?
Nope.
Should end it.
I got nothing.
I mean, yeah, I can go for another hour, but I think we're done.
Yeah, let's not.
Yeah.
We've already dragged this out.
We
way
dragged
longer
it out
than
long, yeah, and we talked about the Star Citizen stuff. We talked about the Squadron 42 studio report. We talked about the Star Citizen studio report, both of July 2021. We mentioned briefly just now about the upcoming Inside Star Citizen episode coming tomorrow, which we'll cover, I guess, on Monday, because that's when the next gaming that's when the next episode of Cast in the Shadows is. For anyone who isn't aware of the new schedule, every Sunday is now, and we have 3 podcasts now, I guess. Sundays are Insert Name Here, which is where we talk about anything not gaming related. It can really be anything. But it's usually TV shows and comic books and movies. Then we have Monday, which is the traditional Cast in the Shadows podcast, where we talk about Star Citizen and some gaming stuff. This coming episode, we're going to talk about a lot of the Star Citizen stuff, because hopefully by Monday we have Alpha 3. How it is? If Alpha 3.14 goes live by Monday, we're just going to do a stream. We're just going to do a live stream of the patch. Do some combat or something. If not, then we're just going to talk about whatever new info we got from ISC, from Star Citizen Live, and the Halo Infinite flight stuff that we missed on this past Monday, because we talked about it this past Monday, but I wanted to share my thoughts on the audio design and how awful it was. And obviously Wednesdays, the leftovers, where we talk about everything we missed, or just ongoing stories that we want to talk about. So kind of a more free-form thing. But yeah, and every single live stream we do now starts at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so 3 p.m. Pacific. And that's really the new thing. That's what it is now.
Nope.
So, hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys found it informative, at the very least entertaining. If you enjoyed it, give us a thumbs up, share it, leave a comment. You know, what did you guys think of the Star Citizen news and the Squadron 42 news? What did you guys think of the Activision Blizzard stuff? What's your opinion? What's your take on it? Leave us a comment, because comments actually do help with the algorithm and help the video. If you didn't like it, give us a thumbs down and tell us why you didn't like it in the comment section, because feedback helps. And that's really it. Also, subscribe if you want to help us. And we also have in the description, we've got links to our Teespring store, which I still need to finish that What Can Possibly Go Wrong t-shirt. But we also have an eBay store where I make art and print it myself and ship it myself. And we got a bunch of other stuff too. Also, the Discord server link if you want to play Star Citizen with us, or Halo, or really any other game. And that's really it. Hope you guys enjoyed. And if you're watching this on the replay or watching this live, regardless, thanks for watching. And until next time, this has been Cast in the Shadows. And remember, stay out of drugs. What was it?
Drink to school.
Don't to school, stay out of drugs, and
Get 8 hours of milk.
right.
This